as the teams slowly, deliberately and methodically walk out of the tunnel, Matt Dawson, and is it bringing the memories rushing back of the time you played in a World Cup semi-final?
Yeah, against France, 2003. Jason Leonard breaking the record for the number of test caps. So much, it was actually quite nice distraction around away from the event, but then as soon as you walk through that tunnel, as soon as you walk out onto the pitch, you walk past that William Webb Ellis trophy and realise what is at stake. I mean, we were off the back of a pretty poor performance against Wales, and I was saying earlier about pulling ourselves off the ceiling because we wanted to make amends from that game. It needed to happen.
Before the anthems and before the haka, we will have a moment of silence, which will be held at both semi-final matches this weekend, in solidarity with the people in Japan following the widespread damage, flooding and tragically loss of life caused by Typhoon Hagibis. Not a murmur from the capacity crowd here in Yokohama, 70,000 crammed in as we prepare for the national anthem, starting with England and God Save the Queen. Thousands and thousands of England fans in magnificent voice. Here's God Defend New Zealand. Well, our team today on 5 Live has 3 men who were all involved the last time England met New Zealand in a Rugby World Cup 20 years ago, would you believe, Paul Grayson? And as we wait for the haka, what a special fixture that comes round very, very rarely.
Very rarely indeed, Chris. The atmosphere in the stadium's absolutely incredible. 8 minutes to the hour was sunset. We just had that lovely crimson glow over the back of the stand that's now disappeared as nightfall starts to take over. And just an immense place to be.
Paul Grayson, Matt Dawson and the former New Zealand fly half Andrew Merton's part of our team. A quick word, Mertz, before the haka.
Well, look at the response from the English here. This is exciting, isn't it? They've formed a semicircle, trying to spread out and trying to surround the All Blacks. Great response. Let's see how the All Blacks do it.
Yeah, as Andrew Merton says, England are not lining up on the halfway line. They have made a V, and the officials are telling England to get back as TJ Perenara starts the haka.
That's a mistake in my mind.
Right, so Andrew Mertens, the Kappa o Pango normally reserved for special occasions, and how would the All Blacks have reacted to England's reaction and formation of that at that haka?
Well, they would have been a little bit surprised, but I like it, and I'm sure they would have welcomed that from the English. The All Blacks don't want anyone to be prescribed to sit there like they have been for a long time, a lot of teams, to just sit and face and take it. We've seen the French's response at times. They've formed a flying V, they've undressed and showed their red, white and blue T-shirt colours at times. I thought that was fantastic from England, well done. They spread out. It was almost like they were trying to diffuse that strength of the haka, which normally gets focal. It has a focal point directly in front. Sam Whitelock tried to turn his body a little bit to angle out to the left where Billy Vunipola was standing, but really good start from the English, I think.
Matt Dawson?
Well, I just hope that is not a mistake, only because it just says to me England were thinking about the haka. Just get on with the game. Ignore the haka. You're never going to ignore the haka, but do what you're supposed to do. Focus on the first job. The first job for England has been, what are you going to do against the haka? That worries me.
You worried, Paul Grayson?
Well, there've been all sorts of challenges to the haka over the years, as Andrew mentioned there. When Ireland beat them in Chicago, they stood in a figure of 8 to remember their fallen brother, Axel Foley. And, you know, if it works, it's great. Richard Cockle made an almighty mistake at Old Trafford in 1997, went and faced off with Norm Hewitt, and we got absolutely thumped. But looking at Mert's face, he loves the challenge.
What about the Lions in 2005, where we went to the full formation across the field and sent our youngest up there with a bit of grass to throw? I mean, it was horrific. It was the biggest mistake we ever made.
Well, it's been a mixed bag, because as Mertz says, the French have risen to the challenge and have come out on top afterwards. But then the Welsh, I remember one time in Cardiff, they wanted to do the anthems afterwards. They ended up doing it down in the bowels of Millennium Stadium, and New Zealand took them apart that day. We are seconds away from one of the biggest games in recent times in rugby union, certainly in English rugby union. The referee, Nigel Owen, says, let's get this show on the road, and George Ford actually gave it to Owen Farrell, who kicked across field. England are all in white there, playing from left to right, and the All Blacks, unsurprisingly, are all in black. And their instrumental scrum half, Aaron Smith, one of 9 of this 23 to have beaten Australia 4 years ago as New Zealand went back-to-back. He finds a solid first touch. England line out bang on the halfway line.
England set up to kick off right. George Ford had the ball in his hands. England's second little funky play of the game, and it hasn't even started. He tosses it up to Owen Farrell, who kicked long left. Perfect box kick clearance from Aaron Smith to the halfway.
There's your lesson, though. compared to last week about exit strategy for New Zealand. Great kick on the halfway.
England win the line out. Laws off the top. Ford. Here is Manu Tuolangi. I'll go through the two teams when we get a stoppage. It might not come very soon because we've started unsurprisingly at breakneck speed. 5 Live Sport from the BBC. The first minute, World Cup semi-final. Elliot Daly makes the break on the outside and gets it to Anthony Watson, who's almost up to the 22. Lightning fast start from England, and Watson isn't dying with the ball. 22 for Youngs. Now here's Ford, his Leicester teammate, swings it to Farrell. They might have numbers, England. Elliot Daly goes wide to Jamie George, who's hugging the left touchline like the All Blacks hookers do. Into the 22 England, the ball is so quick. Laws to Sinclair, what an offload to Ford. This is brilliant from England. Makavunapola's 5 metres out. England need to show composure and come to the right. Youngs, the ball's a bit slow. Here's Courtney Laws, he's a matter of inches short. England pick and go again, and they score round the fringe. And it's Manu Tuolangi as England make quite simply the dream start to this semi-final.
Pace, pace, pace. Oh my goodness me, what do we say about big players stepping up? Elliot Daly taking that outside line round Goodhue, skinned him, linked to Watson, and that was the momentum. We're going to mention that word a lot today. Any team today gets a little bit of momentum, a step, 2 steps over that gain line, you're going to be in trouble.
Talked about England having to threaten New Zealand across the width of the field. They've done it from left to right, then all the way back from right to left, and then virtually a third time. Width of passing, pace of clear out, accuracy, and they've picked out Richie Mo'unga on the edge of the defensive line for the initial break. Good stuff from England.
Owen Farrell bangs over the conversion. Manu Tuolangi took New Zealand to the cleaners 7 years ago at Twickenham, and he's back to it here. He scores the try. England lead by 7 points to 0. And Andrew Mertens, if Kiwis were worried before the game, are you even more worried after that England start?
Well, yes, it was an extraordinary start. I wouldn't say more worried, but we certainly knew England was capable of this sort of play. Have they shown it up to now? An intensity like that? No, they haven't. Wonderful, but it all boils down to taking the initiative back. I wonder if that was part of the haka, take the initiative away from the All Blacks, and they certainly did that off the first set phase.
New Zealand kick-off. Courtney Laws claims there was that still a mistake at the haka then, Matt Dawson?
We've got another 75 minutes to find that out.
No, fair point, but it's a brilliant blistering England start. The kick is a bit loose and it's in All Black possession, so the first time we'll see the world champions with the ball in a meaningful position. Here's Nepo Lulala, their prop, who loses it. Maro Itoje is going sideways, now he straightens, throws a dummy and goes over the halfway line.
George Ford reefed that out, Chris.
England have it now. Daly plays at dummy half. Sinclair deep to Ford. Ford first start against the All Blacks, finds his mate Farrell. Farrell looks right for the corner. Back goes Bridge. Well taken, George Bridge, but he's only 5 metres out. He drops it onto his left foot. Big territorial gain for England. They throw into the line out on the 22, Paul Grayson.
And that's exactly what we spoke about in the build-up, the versatility that England have with George Ford knowing Farrell, but the intervention there by Ford, got his arm in on the Kiwi tight head, ripped the ball away from him, set them off in motion into counter-attack, then 2 wide passes. Farrell all the time in the world, great kick.
He's up for it, isn't he, Ford? He's right in their faces, he's making the tackles. I mean, that's a statement to New Zealand. Don't run down my channel, boys, I'm going to strip the ball away from you.
Jamie George then prepares to throw. England 25 metres from the All Black line. They lead 7-0. They win the line out. Tom Curry's in there. Underhill peels around the edge, and he's over and into the 22. Carl Sinclair, England's forwards are playing with such tempo here, going into play at dummy half. England leads 7-0, they've had all the ball in 5 minutes. Youngs, 22, centre field. Ford finds try score Tuolangi, who almost went through Anton Leonard-Brown, who just about hauled him down wrestling style. Youngs now, Makavunapola's comes around the corner. Good memories of playing these All Blacks for the Lions, Makavunapola's. Here's Tom Curry, player of the match against Australia last time out. England only 15 away. I wonder if Farrell or Ford might look to build a score with a drop, but they're getting good quick ball. Youngs comes right to Ford. Ford deep to Farrell. Farrell flips it onto Daly. Daly kicks for Watson. That's a clever one. Goodhue's in trouble. Well played, Jack Goodhue. Did really well there, actually. Oh, sensationally well, Goodhue. He's made 15 metres, and now Smith wings it back to Barrett on his left boot, and he actually finds a solid touch. So that's class from the All Blacks. Goodhue rescuing the day, and Barrett taking play almost up to the 10-metre line.
Just keeping an eye on Anthony Watson here. Went round into the corner trying to take Goodhue. It looks like either he's twisted his neck or he's had a stinger. He's been treated as he's been clattered in the face. A little bit of claret. Looks like he might have to go off for a stitch. It's been dangerous. They're targeting this little right-hand side with Watson up against Bridge.
Just chucking the ball in
everything,
behind
aren't
there.
they? With a variety. They're targeting the All Blacks with the passing game, with George Ford ripping the ball out before. It's not something that a prop considers as a possible outcome, running in anywhere near a 10, is it? But he's ripped it out, and then they've put little kicks in as well, just keeping the All Blacks going backwards.
England just about win the line out. Laws to Youngs, who got it away to Makavinapola, took it brilliantly. Forward to Farrell, throwing some shapes at the All Blacks, as is England's want. 7-0 after 6 minutes. Eddie Jones's men lead. They pick and go. Is that Tuilangi again? How prominent has he been? And now they pick and go through Billy Vunipola, through the guts of the New Zealand forwards. Blistering England start, we'll say it again. Sinclair's ball to Ford, a bit loose. Great pass though out to Watson, who's back on his feet and getting those dancing feet going. Almost up to the 22 England. Ben Youngs comes left to Farrell, who's gone into first receiver. Tom Curry wearing 6, and he's bust through a tackle. He's gone straight through Joe Moody there, and he's almost up to the 22. Farrell's on the gain line, deep to Tuilangi, who flips it over to Johnny May. May's now inside the 22 as England continue to attack with pace, Paul Grayson.
Incisive, and they're using multiple players to pass from first receiver. We've seen Vunipola do it, we've seen Sinclair do it. That's releasing Ford and Farrell to give it the width.
Youngs finds Leicester teammate May, and that ball is loose. That time England have lost it, so their first mistake in contact. The All Blacks might be able to go here. Arnie Sever out to Goodhue. Goodhue has gone over the 10-metre line. Lovely hands from Mwanga out to Bridge, who's gone over halfway. A glimpse here of the potency of this All Black attack. Barrett's up from full-back, finds Leonard Brown. Good tackle Itoje, but the All Blacks have quick ball. Smith looks right, goes left. Sevu Reece has gone into fly half. Look at that footwork. He sent Makavinapola onto his backside. Smith out to Barrett. There's an intercept here. Tuilangi, Farrell, Johnny May up against Scott Barrett. There's only one winner here, surely. No, Barrett showed good pace. May inside to Farrell, and Farrell knocks it on. Well, what a chance for England. Tuilangi's interception, he gave it to May, and I thought in a foot race with Scott Barrett, he would have eaten him alive. The thoughts of Matt Dawson, Paul Grace and Andrew Merton shortly, but New Zealand are trying to play it out of their own 22. They've got an advantage. England have given a penalty away. I imagine the All Blacks will want the penalty as Jack Goodhue puts it onto his boot, and there is the penalty. England have given it away, and what an opportunity.
Well, there's so much going on, Chris, it's almost impossible to pick out one thing in isolation to talk about. But Bowden Barrett throws the intercept. He was guilty of that a bit last year, playing at fly half. He gets so flat and wants to release the ball so early that he's prone to getting picked off. Tuilangi read it perfectly. They got the ball through two pairs of hands to Johnny May, and for all money you would have said he'd have scored in the corner. Scott Barrett got his corner flag cover line just right. England made a mess of it. Golden opportunity gone.
I'm not sure, Mertz, where Scott Barrett got those wheels from, but that was sent from heaven.
Well, you'd think the lion's share of the speed in the family went to the two backs out there, but Geordie and Bodie. But here they go again, the All Blacks. Got some gander up now.
Well, Jack Goodhue's been a menace so far from England's point of view, and now the All Blacks are attacking Barrett, out to his brother Bowden, now to George Bridge. Good tackle, Anthony Watson. 7-0 to England. It has been a hectic first 9 minutes on 5 Live. England through Tuilangi lead, but the All Blacks are attacking over the 10-metre line through their influential lock Brady Retallick. Now Smith back to Bowden Barrett. Clever kick, well fielded. That was Elliot Daly showing his cricketing skills. He then kicks it down Bowden Barrett's throat. Andrew Mertens wants the ball sent skywards. Barrett obliges. That looks a little bit loose. Ford covers the ground well, and George Ford with his right wrist taped up calls an authoritative mark, and England have the clearance to touch Paul Grayson.
Yeah, and you've got to think the All Blacks, to get a foothold in England's half, are going to have to put it on the boot a little bit more. It's a nice move back to the blind side from Barrett. He might have hoped the ball would go into touch and then they could attack England's line out. Elliot Daly in good position to cover.
I actually think this sort of suits England, this style of play. The looser it gets, you got Ford and Farrell quick as lightning with turnover ball. The ball can be across the field super quick. If New Zealand get out and get loose, I think it will be in England's favour.
We've not been able to pause for breath yet, because New Zealand have gone quickly from the line out after Ford cleared his lines. They're on the 10-metre line through their captain Kieran Reid. 126th cap for the iconic number 8. 30 metres out, New Zealand, just to the right of the post. Smith scoots, switches with Mwanga. Tuolangi is up again looking for that intercept. So Mwanga kicks cleverly, and Daly, Paul Grayson, takes it out of touch. And this is a good set-piece opportunity for the All Blacks.
And that's a nice little four-phase attack from the All Blacks. They hit it hard up the middle, had two forward runners to play the next two phases. And then Aaron Smith broke back to the left and did a little switcheroo with Mwanga, who went the same way again, which opened the space to thread the ball through.
Had that covered though, Grace.
Yeah, but
that was good D.
Exactly, forcing them to kick the ball is a win for England.
Opportunity for the All Blacks here. Andrew Merton's line out on the 22.
Yeah, and it's the first time they've been up this end, isn't it? And they will be mindful of those intercept opportunities. Manu Tuolangi saw that before, coming from a long way off, but the All Blacks will still know that there was opportunity there. They were looking for that space. They've done it to both sides. They're going to start reacting and punching a few holes. I'm not saying they're naturally the better team, but they'll be responding to everything that England is doing on defence.
Listen to the noise around the Yokohama International Stadium. Nigel Owens talking to the forwards. Let's just run through the packs at least while we've got a second. Vunipola, George Sinclair, England, front row. Itoje, Laws, Curry, Underhill, and the other Vunipola, Billy. New Zealand, Moody, Taylor, Laulala, Retallick and Whitelock, Barrett, Surveyor and Reid, as New Zealand have it. Paul Grayson just outside their 22 now from the line out.
Little miscommunication at the front. They get the bounce of the ball this time. It goes back their way.
Just short of the 22, the All Blacks. 12 minutes gone. Well, Smith is sending up a box kick. It's a real tester for Johnny May. What's happening here? Well taken by May. Oh, he was tempted there, wasn't he, Matt Dawson, to tap and go himself. Now he does tap. He finds his skipper, Owen Farrell, and he belts it to touch. Nicely done, England. A good exit. Play almost up to the halfway line.
Yeah, well, you're seeing just some of glimpses of the tactics where it was the kick-off with Ford just popping it to Farrell or the other way around. You've got box kicks in the opposition 22. When you've got two teams at right the top of their game, they can start tinkering and really finding the niches in their opposition.
Opportunity missed, maybe. Andrew Merton's line out on the 22.
Yeah, it was a puzzling decision, wasn't it? And, you know, it's not often you see the All Blacks sort of rolling the dice a little bit with that sort of a move early in the game.
Well, New Zealand have thrown into the line out on the 10-metre line. They wait long, they tried to maul. England have disrupted, and they've turned it over. And now Youngs finds Billy Vunipola, who gets an off the way to Ford. Great hands to Ben Youngs. Youngs switches with Farrell. This is supreme stuff from England. Over the 10-metre line they go. They are playing with a serious amount of tempo and pace, England. 7-0 they lead on 5 Live. Ford means business on the game line. So does Sam Underhill, who was huge for England against the All Blacks last November. Almost up to the 22, the big ball carriers come in waves. Billy Vunipola is melted, but he's almost up to the 22. He took some All Blacks with him. Might be numbers for England. Farrell's ball to Daly. Can Daly stand up? Reece and Goodhue into the 22. Elliot Daly goes. What do England do here, Paul Grayson? Slightly slowed up for Ben Youngs, who flips it to Maka Vunipola.
Got to try and keep the pace in the clear out and have people running onto the ball. The All Blacks are 6s and 7s when England get some width on it.
Farrell throws a dummy, hauled down by Goodhue. Aaron Smith goes into Steele. Has he done that, Aaron Smith? He has. The little number 9, England under-resourced in the ruck. And New Zealand have it back in their own territory. And that man, Aaron Smith, what a player he is at number 9. He hooks it to touch, Matt Dawson. And New Zealand survive. England have to throw into the line out on the 10-metre line in New Zealand's half.
It's a shame. I think it was Elliot Daly just slightly overran Owen Farrell there when there was a half a chance of an overlap. Farrell had to take it in, got slightly isolated. Great turnovers from both sides. This is so intense. This is high intensity. The tiniest of mistakes, I mean, are being capitalised on by the opposition. It's magnificent to see both teams on such good form.
Jamie George then to throw. England 40-odd metres from the All Black line. Their line-out's been perfect so far, England. Ford on the gain line. Manu Tuolangi. Well, he won the contact with Leonard Brown, who just about got him. Maka Vunipola, how many times he carried in the opening quarter of an hour, the loose head prop?
Oh, great run.
England now probing. Ford switches with Farrell. Owen Farrell over the 22. Oh, one too many. He tried to get the offload away and he lost it forward. What's Mwanga going to do? He kicks. No one in the backfield for England. Where's the All Blacks chase, though, Andrew Mertens? They're coming up fast. England sloping back. Ford's just outside his 22. He's keeping it alive. He finds Johnny May. Is May going to run from his own 22? What a ridiculous game so far. 15 minutes gone. England 7, New Zealand 0 on 5 Live. And now Ben Youngs will look to the left and Jamie George and might just try and bring a little bit of calm to proceedings, Andrew Mertens, because a couple of times New Zealand have been stretched there by England.
Yeah, it's been furious, and at the moment it's still playing into England's hands. They've really taken the initiative away from New Zealand and sort of caught them on the back foot. And as they go again, they've put the kick up, and the All Blacks come back now.
Over the halfway line, New Zealand go. Smith, Barrett's come up from full-back, finds George Bridge, almost up to the halfway line. England's tackling is good, but they need to keep their discipline. They haven't there. Penalty to New Zealand. He's done Sam Underhill as Nigel Owens for not getting away from the tackle area. Quick ball, Aaron Smith. Barrett is up again from full-back. He's basically playing fly half. He goes over the 10-metre line. He loses it forwards. Back for the penalty, Paul Grayson. Underhill conceding the penalty on the halfway line. Probably out of the range of Mwanga, but a chance for New Zealand to go deep into England's territory.
Chance for them from a mistake in the breakdown first, just about the first mistake in the collision area from England. Stemmed from another counter-attack by the All Blacks when Owen Farrell ran a superb switch with Ford. They'd breached the New Zealand defence. They were deep into the 22 and he went for it. It wasn't a 50-50 offload. It was an absolute speculator which surrendered possession. England can't keep getting into the opposition 22 and giving them the ball back.
No, the England setup from first and second phase ball is so good. New Zealand, they don't know who to tackle. There's like two, if not two and a half lines of England runners, and you can see the Whitelocks and Retallick, who usually are making those good hits, are stepping in, biting in on players that are just simply not getting the ball.
And they're varying that well, aren't they? They're varying between hitting that front runner, hitting the Billy Vunipola or the Courtney Laws, hitting those front guys, and then at other times just throwing it out the back. And you're right, New Zealand is committing to those big front runners. They have to, because they've been bruising the All Blacks, and as a result there's space behind.
And all the bits we saw in England's warm-up before the game, they're putting the jigsaw together perfectly.
England have picked off New Zealand's line out. New Zealand went for touch on the 22. They found it. Oh, but then it's been taken back in. Okay, so what's happened here is that New Zealand have thrown long. Courtney Laws got up, got a huge paw to it, put it back inside England's 22. It was then hacked out, I think, by George Ford, but it means actually Nigel Owens is now disagreeing with his touch judge.
No, well, you may well have been right there, but Nigel Owens had actually called it inside, therefore George Ford quite rightly thought he could kick it straight out. So that was a mistake from Nigel Owens, but the quality referee that he is, he stands up and admits to it.
Yeah, near touchline, it looks like Roman Quat here. And exactly as Matt Dawson was saying, because Owens shouted inside, Ford was in his rights to kick for touch, even though the touch judge did think that it was taken back in by England. It means New Zealand have the line out just inside England's 10-metre line. They're about 35 metres from England's line. 18 minutes almost on the clock on 5 Live. England 7, New Zealand 0. One of the best first quarters of rugby we've seen in ages. And England have done extremely well there, Matt Dawson. They've spoiled the line out and the maul. They've done that 2 or 3 times, and England now have the scrum.
Well, first point, England defended the line out so superbly well that New Zealand could only go to the front. England are saying to New Zealand, take it, have that front ball all day long. You want to go off the top at the front and throw a 20-metre pass to the back line, feel free, it's all yours. So all of a sudden New Zealand are driving at the front. Maro Itoje gets his enormous mitt of a right hand onto the ball, and I'm sorry, Aaron Smith, you could have had 4 hands and you were not going to be getting that ball off Maro Itoje.
And the reverse of what we thought pre-match was that England would be under pressure, potentially at the set piece with the height that the New Zealanders have put into their pack. It's actually the reverse is true. England's line-out work is fantastic. Courtney Laws getting up and nicking the other one and then setting their defence at the front. Easy to defend them all at the front because there's no blind side to play down really as it goes towards the touchline. The Kiwis panicked and had to collapse it, and then of course you're within your rights to keep your mitts on the ball and trap the ball inside and affect the turnover.
Well, the forwards just getting a little bit of treatment. Our first proper pause, so I'll run through the back lines. Youngs and Ford for England. Ford in for Henry Slade, going to fly half. Farrell to Tuilagi in the midfield. May, Watson and Daly the England back 3. Smith, Mwanga the half-backs for New Zealand. Leonard Brown and Goodhue the centres. Bridge, Rees and that man Bowden Barrett at full-back. And as we prepare for the England scrum, another word from the former New Zealand fly half Andrew Mertens and Mertz. The maul and the line out, an area where England have been able to get stuck into, your guys.
Yes, and the All Blacks have had to vary it. They've already had one line out stolen, and what they were at the end of the last World Cup in 2015, they were very, very good at set piece, whether it was stealing a crucial ball against South Africa. On that occasion, they're trying to shift the ball away from the real focal point, and in doing that, they didn't get the front of the maul set up, and Maro Itoje just came legally swimming through that, and did very, very well.
Well, it's ironic, isn't it? We all thought that New Zealand were over-clubbing in the line-out stakes, with Scott Barrett playing on the blindside flank. 4 jumpers, maybe 5 if you include Ardie Savea and Kieran Reid. England only with Itoje and Laws, but both of them so far, Paul Grayson, have been making mischief at the line-out. And a case in point just there as England forced the New Zealand maul and got their scrum out of it, which Ben Youngs is preparing to feed 5 metres inside England's half.
Yeah, they're playing their hand perfectly at the moment, England. It'll be intriguing to see what they go for here from this scrum, whether they try and put a double shunt on and squeeze the All Blacks 8, or whether they go for an early release wide ball and Elliot Daly welly it down the pitch.
Deafening noise inside this stadium in Yokohama. We can see pockets of white everywhere we look. Thousands of England fans have made the journey east from the UK, and as always, the Japanese fans have come in their numbers as well, clad in their red and white, and not to mention a good few thousand All Black fans as well, watching what has been so far, Matt Dawson, an absolutely captivating first 20 minutes. England still 7-0 up.
Yeah, exactly that, Chris. We would be on the edge of our seats, but we can't. We're standing. We want to stand. We want to show the emotion physically and with our voices here. Now, technically, I was chatting to someone out there from another team that are playing tomorrow. They think one of the weaknesses is Sinclair, actually, in his scrummaging and set piece. That's why Scotty Barrett has gone onto that flank, but it looks pretty solid to me.
England got a quick heel. Youngs then had to sort of take a loose ball and flip it back to Anthony Watson. So England do have possession. That's the most important thing, as Youngs finds Courtney Laws. England in between their own 22 and the 10-metre line. They lead 7-0. Manu Tuilagi with the try. Teams often start well against the All Blacks. It's that second quarter where you routinely see the world champions come back. Youngs' kick is taken by Bridge, just on the halfway line. Some bodies flying everywhere, as Barrett again takes it at first receiver. Is this the tactic, Paul Grayson? Beauden Barrett is almost taking as many balls at first receiver as Mwanga, who goes cross-field and finds Leonard Brown, who is well tackled by Johnny May. So plenty to consume there, Paul Grayson. Barrett again coming up to play as the first receiver, and then Mwanga's pinpoint kick, Leonard Brown just running out of room on the far side.
Yeah, your heart's in your mouth from a New Zealand point of view when Barrett's flat at the line. Almost a hint of an early hit on the box kick from Ben Youngs, but not quite. And then as Mwanga flips a perfect little chip across for Leonard Brown on the outside, Johnny May, who is just... he's turned into a world-class winger, turns, pivots on his heel, makes a thumping tackle, knocks him into touch on their own 10-metre line.
Andrew Merton's former New Zealand fly half, what have you made of the way Mwanga and Barrett are working together?
Well, I just wonder if it's designed to attack certain defenders. So, you know, the loose forwards will probably be making that first tackle off first phase, then it'll be the tight 5, and maybe they want Barrett running at tight 5, running into gaps, with Mwanga taking on the loose forwards more.
England win their line out. Ford with a clever kick. He's meaning business today, George Ford, sending Sevu Reece back. Reece on his own 5-metre line finds that man Barrett, and Barrett hacks it to touch, and that's a good territorial gain, Matt Dawson, for England. They threw into the line out inside their own half. Now they're 30-odd metres from the Kiwi line.
These teams these days, they are not interested in possession. We were bleating on last week about England only having 38% possession. They don't care. They don't care about territory. They don't care about possession. It's about the metres gained over kicking. That is the statistic that they're interested in, and you can just see a perfect example there. Where's the space? Smash it down there. That's a net 20 gain. All of a sudden the pressure is very different.
England only had 10 minutes of ball against Australia. They scored 40 points. Ford, Tuilagi in a wide channel. He's tackled by Goodhue, but he's just about winning the gain line, Manu Tuilagi. England 7-0 up, 22 minutes gone. 5 Live Sport, your World Cup station, for a Titanic World Cup semi-final. The first time in 20 years these two global rugby heavyweights have met in a World Cup match, and England lead it. Ford to Farrell, clever kick through Owen Farrell, turning New Zealand around again, just as Matt Dawson was saying, putting it on the boot if nothing's on, and New Zealand now, Paul Grayson, only 10 metres or so from their own line.
England playing wide-ish off the set piece, giving Manu Tuolangi a go on the outside against Jack Goodhue. Good tackle from him. England go back the other way, and they've got players, 5 or 6 players in a shape that New Zealand are finding really difficult to cope with on the edge of their defence.
New Zealand do win the line-out. They go to the tail. Reid sets it up, and Smith hacks it towards touch. He doesn't find it, does he? Johnny May takes it. I wonder whether he actually stepped out. Andrew Mertens, you had your hand up as if to say may have made a mess of it, but he's okay. It's England ball just inside the New Zealand half.
Yeah, it may have looked to May that Aaron Smith wasn't trying to find touch, in which case he thought perhaps they'd taken it back in their 22. In the end, the All Blacks were looking for it, and they now get the chance to put some pressure on this line-out because they need to win one back for their own sake.
George to throw then, just inside the opponent's half. England 7-0 after 24 minutes on 5 Live. Again, they go off the top of the line now, which means the forwards just throw it down to scrum half Youngs, who finds Maka Vunipola. Now Youngs again, Billy Vunipola throws a dummy, gets the offload forward. That a brilliant set of hands from George Ford to find May. And this offloading is clearly a tactic, guys, isn't it? As Anthony Watson tries to stand up Leonard Brown, and almost does. He is looking razor sharp, Watson, as are England. Youngs to Billy Vunipola. Arnie Surveyor's on that ball. He's made a meal of it. It means Youngs goes backwards, finds Courtney Laws, and they're always looking to offload the England forwards, Paul Grayson, as Youngs has Maka Vunipola coming from deep.
They've got ball handlers right across the team. Doesn't matter what numbers on their back. Most of these guys are happy just showing dummies, popping short passes or running themselves.
England on the 22 in New Zealand's territory. Billy Vunipola's on the touchline again. He had his hand out to try and get the offload away. England are only 15 metres out here. Another try would be huge. Oh, Curry was the dummy runner, and it's gone to Sam Underhill. And Underhill's under the post, and England have scored. And straight away you feel, don't you, that something didn't look right. Nigel Owens hasn't yet given it. He's going to go upstairs and check. Curry came on an angle. Did he block off some New Zealand players? Underhill picked a dream line, went under the post, and now it's all going to be down to Marius Jonker in conjunction with Nigel Owens, Matt Dawson.
Yeah, I think that was the right decision from...
The dummy runner took the defender out, or was there no material effect on the defender-initiated contact?
I think Nigel Owens is right to let it play out and see the try. That's what the TMO is for. I think everybody's reaction, even the England team, they're still not over the halfway line. They didn't like the way that it looked. I would be surprised, Mertz, if that was given as a try.
Well, it looked, I think maybe it looked worse than it was. I think Scott Barrett has made the decision to come in on the dummy runner. Was it, who was the dummy runner there? He's made the decision to, and if Nigel Owen decides that it was that decision rather than the actual act of taking out the defenders, then I think he's going to give this try.
It was a little dummy of the pop pass, wasn't it, from Sinclair? And then I think it was Whitelock who stepped in and initiated contact with Underhill. The only question for me is the fact that Sinclair ran round the back of the...
So he's not in a position to receive the pass.
Blocking runner.
Nigel, I have a decision for you, just give me, hold on.
Okay.
Here's the decision, Marius Jonker, the television match official.
Nigel. Yeah. So what I have, I've got number 6, White, clearly not in a position catch the ball and making contact with a possible defender.
And he does take out the option of a defender.
Correct.
So the no try penalty is going to be back here. Okay.
Correct.
Well, there you go, Nigel Owens and Marius Jonker going through it slowly and steadily. Owens is now speaking to Owen Farrell.
He's taken away the opportunity of a defender. So no, not please, Owen, please. So he's in front of the ball carrier, therefore it's a penalty. If he was in line, not a problem, but he's in front. No try, okay? After, no try.
Well, Owen Farrell said, can I ask you a question? And Nigel Owens says after. He's given the penalty, boos from the England fans. But on first viewing, Matt Dawson, Paul Grayson, it just had that look of something not quite being right as Underhill kind of waiting completely unopposed.
And yeah, you're almost, the people involved in the collision all stopped because they were like, well, that's not right. And you can't have a decoy runner get ahead of the ball and make contact with the opposition because he's out of the game, and therefore the referees and the assistant referee exactly right, in my opinion, to chalk that try off.
Yeah, they did deep breath for New Zealand. They want to get going again, but they've got to get in the game in England territory.
They have it through Goodhue. Goodhue, Farrell kind of dropped off the tackle. It was slightly high, but okay, says the referee. Now they've got a bit of space on the far edge. New Zealand. Reese was hit hard. He then flipped it to Mwanga, who doesn't want that kind of ball. They're on their own 10-metre line, New Zealand, and there's a real difference in structure between the two teams here. As Aaron Smith digs for the ball and finds Barrett, and Barrett just hoiks a Gary Owen up into the dark Yokohama sky. Great take, Johnny May, Aussie rule style over his head. And with 14 minutes left of the half, England still have this 7-0 lead, even though they just had that try from Sam Underhill, chalked off for obstruction. Jamie George from the inside ball keeps it alive to Youngs. They're keeping so much ball alive, England. Forward with a kick. He wants the ball to bounce. Mwanga takes it inside the 22, doesn't call a mark. Good tackle forward up on his opposite number, but Mwanga got it away to Scott Barrett. Lovely ball to Brodie Retallick. He's got Arnie Surveyor with him. Arnie Surveyor, it was behind him, but Gucci picks it up. Gucci finds Bowden Barrett, who is rapid. What a ball inside to Gucci, and just like that, the All Blacks have gone 80-odd metres, and Andrew Mertens, that's more like it, isn't it, from the world champions. Beautiful interplay, and England now throw in only 7 metres from their own goal line.
Yes, that's right. George Ford found himself with no real options. He was the behind runner, big line in front. He had no support, put boot to ball, and Mo'unga constructed something at the back. He actually got scragged, but managed to pop the ball up to his retreating support player, Scott Barrett, who set off upfield. The two locks playing together, and just an indication of how dangerous they can be at any moment. Maybe a wayward pass that could have gone to Artie Savea.
The voice of All Blacks great, former fly half Andrew Mertens. England needed to win that line out, and they did. Saracen to Saracen, George to Itoje, and from 5 metres from their own line, Youngs is kicked to touch. Matt Dawson is very tidy, and England have done well. They've taken play out to 30+ metres from their own goal line. 7-0 they lead.
Lovely exit, tight angle, didn't try and get greedy. Ball back in play, England nicked it again, Chris.
Yeah, New Zealand go quickly with the line out, and England have been so alert.
They're rattled by it, that's why they're going quick, because they're rattled.
You think they want to go back to their kind of...
Well, they're trying to catch England out, and England are ready.
Well, so many times England have picked this All Blacks line out off, the complete opposite to what was being built in the week. And New Zealand are slightly playing with fire. Paul Grayson, Barrett finds Kieran Reid, now here's Cody Taylor, now George Bridge, tackled into touch by Anthony Watson on the halfway line.
Yeah, and it is very un-All Black-like at the moment. There's some pockets of excellence from them as usual, but they're making mistakes in the backfield. They're running ball and going for an extra pass, when the pragmatic thing from my view in terms of stabilising the game, the All Blacks probably better just letting England play 2 or 3 more times out of their own 22. They really are on a knife edge, and if England pick one of those passes off, those loose balls off, put another 7 points on the board, it looks a long way back.
I know this is a few phases ago, and there's so much going on the whole time. Owen Farrell's tackle, did we get another look at that? Was it I mean, there was just a moment where you said before the game, in all the intensity, some of those big hits when they're trying to bite in, obviously the TMO didn't come in, so it wasn't that obvious, but there was just the hint of, well, now just calm down a little bit, and we're all intense and we want to make some big hits, but they're the defining moments in all of the action that could sway it either way.
And England have been squeaky clean discipline-wise in this Rugby World Cup. They've just got to be careful. Andrew Mertens, we saw there as England prepared to throw the line out. The backs and forwards for New Zealand getting in a huddle. Do you sense they're slightly rattled?
I don't know about rattled, but they certainly want to be reacting well to what's going on in front of them, and that wasn't a great decision of Cody Taylor maybe to pass that ball. George Bridge, it was a bit of a lucky one, and he got pushed in the touch.
Well, England went again off the line out to Youngs, and then England lost it, and then in turn, when New Zealand had a counter-attacking chance, they lost it. So England, it's clearly a plan, isn't it, guys? Andrew Mertens, Paul Grayson, Matt Dawson with us on 5 Live. Everything England are doing is being done at pace. They've yet to move, they've yet to slow it down. Both teams are going, razor sharp, lightning fast with every restart.
Yeah, and that's leading to 1 or 2 mistakes as we get 20-odd minutes into this, 29 minutes at the half an hour mark. England got their first line out wrong there. Courtney Lawes threw it off the top. Ben Youngs wasn't in position. The ball bounced through. An All Black player got through, scooped it up. Might have been Scott Barrett. Then immediately knocked it on and handed initiative back to England again. That's what the All Blacks are failing to do at the moment, is maximise off England's few mistakes, which traditionally they do so well.
I'm just about getting my breath back here. I hope we're not sort of rambling on too much. There's so much to discuss over this game. You've got potentially are the Blacks a little bit rattled. Mertz doesn't think so, but I think they are. There was indecision going on in the midfield. They're sort of Beauden Barrett is running across the field rather than those really incisive runs that he makes forward. You've got a penalty scrum now for England. You feel all the momentum is with England, but they're only 7 points up.
So that's my next question to all three of you. As England win the penalty and will clear into the All Blacks half, we know how you've got to almost beat the All Blacks twice every game. Do England have to go into half-time with more points for this dominance? Almost 60% possession, 25% of the game they've played in New Zealand's 22 as Daly kicks long. Oh, he doesn't find touch. Yes, he does. He does, because Bridges' foot was on the line and Roman Potter spotted it, and now England will have the line out around the 22. So a quick word from all three of you, starting with you, Andrew Mertens. Would 7-0 be a good half-time score for New Zealand? 9 minutes left till the break.
Yeah, I think for New Zealand it is. I think such has been the play and in a lot of respects the dominance of the England team that they could well have had a lot more points. I think New Zealand will be happy.
Yeah, and that period of time that England has spent in the opposition 22 to only have a 7-point return could come back to haunt them later in the game.
England not finished yet, Chris, don't you worry about that. They're not going in with just 7-0 at half-time.
Well, they've won the line out in the middle through a Itoje, and I think for the first time today, practically, they're mauling. Normally they've just flipped it down to Youngs, but now they want to see what their maul can do. It can't go very far, so Youngs scoots left, finds Farrell. Farrell just trucks it up like an old-school number 12. Here's Sam Underhill. Big tackling coming in by Ardy Surveyor. Underhill almost up to the 22. England leads 7-0. Do they need another score? However it comes, a 3, a 5 or a 7 before the interval, which is 8 minutes away. It's coming back to Ford, who's dropping for goal for 10-0, George Ford. He's pushed it right. He's pushed it right. Andrew Mertens punches the air. Good tactic though, Paul Grayson, to try and build the score.
Yeah, Dawson just touched on it. Don't want to finish with just a 7-point lead at half-time. Not a bad hit from George Ford. England just lost the shape of their attack, so there's no downside to having a pot shot.
Just keep an eye on Owen Farrell here. Got knocked to the knee. Looks like he's just running off a bit of a dead leg. Physio met with his medic bib right next to him, checking whether he's all right. So important for this England side. Tough as nails though, that fella, he ain't coming off.
Another mistake from the All Blacks, that trademarked flat restart that they do that only goes 3 or 4 metres over the 22, travels low. They normally pick that off in the 5-metre channel. They've knocked it on again, giving England another attacking scrum. 25 metres out from the opposition line with the width of the pitch. It's on the right-hand side. They've got 60 metres of pitch to their left to play with.
7 minutes left till half-time. I can't believe we've only had 7 points. That early Tuolangi try. England 7, New Zealand 0. And Andrew Mertens, England with the scrum just outside the All Blacks 22 to the right.
Yes, and of course they're conscious. We just saw it then from George Ford, the drop goal attempt, was it Farrell, sorry, that just went to the right, agonisingly to the right. They're conscious of needing to score points, and looking back on it, how crucial, and I hope we're talking about this at the end of the game in the context of an All Black victory, how crucial was that moment with Scott Barrett setting off corner flagging and cutting off Johnny May. We don't know what Johnny May had been doing in the last 5 minutes, possibly leg weary. They can't be right on the go the whole time, wingers, but gee, that could have been a crucial moment in the game.
This is bread and butter for England. How many times have we seen set piece, line out or scrum this side where they have a lovely intricate move, either Manu comes on the decoy, goes wide, or he takes it up, it's quick ball, and Johnny May in.
Good scrum England, Watson's in to just come off his wing and set it up. England 7-0 up, but only 25 metres out. Slap bang in centre field for Tom Curry. Youngs now scoots left, he went off on a little bit of a dart. He was immediately sacked by a couple of All Blacks. He's on the floor, so England's forwards play at dummy half. Flipped along to Sam Underhill. 6.5 minutes left of the first half on 5 Live. World Cup semi-final. Wales or South Africa await. They meet here in 24 hours' time. Sinclair knocks it on. England have to keep their accuracy. And Matt Dawson, that's frustration for the England fans. Crammed into this stadium. Good set-piece ball, good field position for England. Knock on New Zealand scrum.
I get the feeling that might be the first ruck that Ben Youngs has had to dig for and give slow ball, genuinely slow on the gain line, 3, 4, 5 second ball for New Zealand to get their line up, and that's what New Zealand are fighting for in this whole game. It's the momentum of Sinclair, of Vunipola, Itoje, Laws, other Vunipola, constantly, Underhill constantly battering the door down. If they get behind the gain line, they are going to cause New Zealand so many problems.
And the shape of England's attack has been so good. They've been able to get one-on-ones all the time, which means you're going to get over the gain line, means the next ruck is easier to win, means you're over the gain line again, and that's where New Zealand are in trouble. That's the first time New Zealand have put 2 big hits in back-to-back, and it stopped England's momentum.
Yeah, and it was noticeable that the leeches, the support players, weren't as obvious. We've seen Curry and Underhill driving guys like Laws and Itoje through that contact and getting that extra 3 or 4 metres, which has just been really important for England getting on the front foot. Shame for Kyle Sinclair just then, because I think he's had a massive half. Set piece has been really good, his lifting in the line out, his scrummaging, but also just his weighing on the game around the fringes. He's been fantastic.
Well, the only time that the sting has been taken out this game is at scrum time. There have been a few resets. The rest of the time, the ball in play time has been absurd. All eyes on Owen Farrell, Paul Grayson. He's still not moving very freely. And I just wonder whether he's going to get inside at half-time. The medics will look at him and go, Owen, you may be one of the toughest blokes around, but you can't play on. They're going to have a job to do at the interval, the England backroom team, as New Zealand prepare to beat the scrum on their own 22.
No chance of Owen Farrell coming off, unless one of his legs actually falls off.
There is a danger, though, but with half-time coming, with 10-15 minutes rest, that is the worst thing for a dead leg. You don't want to be sat still.
New Zealand on their own 22. Youngs makes the tackle. The offload finds Aaron Smith. Lovely ball out to Barrett, who drops it onto his left boot. Anthony Watson, who's had an excellent game so far, he scrambles back. England then have it. Billy Vunipola, who's been, I think, more prominent with the ball in hand today. He's made 9 carries, more than he's made in the other games. He's caught. Youngs, the ball is loose. He has to pick up. He is now smashed by Brodie Retallick, among others. Still England possession. Half-time edging nearer. Night time here in Yokohama at 5:45 local time. 10:15 back home. Whoever you're watching us, stay with us. England aren't far away here. 44 minutes from history. And a World Cup final for the first time in 12 years. But it's still early. The lead is still slender as Young sends it from his half towards New Zealand's. Taken in by Beauden Barrett. Up steps Sam Underhill to make the dominant tackle, and he gets back in the ruck, Underhill. Scott Barrett, who's had a decent game, the lock, who's playing on the flank. Surprisingly preferred to Sam Cane. Reid, RD Surveyor, nice ball inside to Jack Goodhue now from Kieran Reid. Over the halfway line, New Zealand go. They're on the ball there, England. Is it Tom Curry? He is right over that. He's locked on it, and Curry wins the penalty. England snuff out that All Blacks attack.
It's as if they've watched how the All Blacks play. Of course they have. They know their patterns and their methods, but particularly when they're coming back around the short side, Grace, you know, the Kiwis love it. They love the little 3s on 2s, get that little bit of momentum that we keep talking about, and then it goes. But it's as if England are waiting for the New Zealander to go down that line, tackle one-on-one, and then pounce and go and slow that ball. They see that as a weakness of New Zealand.
And when you give the offload, if you're giving it in a tackle and the tackle gets completed, you're not in a position to support then or clear out. And because there's 3 offloads on the bounce there, they get to a point where the last tackle's made on Goodhue. The clearer can't get in because he's been involved in the previous offload, and Curry can get his head over the ball. Impossible to move once he's on it. So they're almost hoisted by their own petard to a degree. The offloads were that good that they eventually ended up with a man isolated and England pounced.
I'm glad we're not the only ones feeling slightly edgy today. Usually we're very calm, sat in our commentary positions, but we're standing up, we're fidgeting around. Just had a look on the monitor, you saw Eddie Jones, exactly the same. Usually he's the guy sat at the back, very rarely communicating, and the odd whisper, but he's stood up, he's chatting away. He wants this half-time, he wants to have the chat.
Matt Dawson and Paul Grayson with us on 5 Live as ever. I'm going to bring in Andrew Mertens in a moment because this feels a pivotal time of this World Cup semi-final as Reid picks off England's line out and Smith flings it into midfield where Anton Leonard-Brown runs into George Ford, and with 2 minutes left of this first half, it's still only 7-0 to England. Barrett in the wide channel, look at that speed from the double World Player of the Year, playing at fullback but getting his hands on the ball so much. Now here's the New Zealand forwards and Brodie Retallick, Smith, Bridge, Cody Taylor. George Ford is up and he eventually makes the tackle. 2 minutes to half time. Still only 7-0 to England. That sounds a good position for England to be in, but they've had so much dominance they could and maybe should have more. Still New Zealand, they're still in their own half. Tuilangi's done that all day, stopping the wide ball from Richie Mwanga. And Mwanga, Andrew Mertens, has been forced to go back inside. England have turned it over, they've won the penalty. They've won the penalty. Sam Underhill this time. So it was Curry on the near touchline, Underhill on the far, and Andrew Mertens, after New Zealand saved the day from the line out, they give the penalty away, and surely England have got a kick for goal here.
Yes, you'd think so. It's an opportunity here, 45 metres out and just slightly to the left of the post. But great work from Manu Tuilangi as well, because he made Richie Mo'unga, they'd strung together several phases, but he made Mo'unga turn back in to the heavy traffic. Curry or Underhill, either or, you take your pick of them today, ruck by ruck, got in over the ball, and finally Scott Barrett was offside, and that's why they're all giving Manu Tuilangi a high five.
Here comes a little bit of drizzle, a little bit of rain. Loving it even more. Points are done. I mean, 10 is 15. If this starts just to get a little bit heavier, so tricky to play. I can't understand, Grace, why New Zealand are not, they're not hitting their front wave runners at all. They keep just flinging it wide when it's just simply not on.
They're playing too much around the halfway line. They've never put the boot on the ball, only a couple of times in the first half. George Ford lining up the kick. Farrell's knee obviously a little bit sore, so he gets a shot from 45 metres just to the left.
Well, that is telling that Farrell is giving the duties to Ford. This is crucial. England 7-0 up. Up steps George Ford. Oh, what a kick, George Ford. Has it got the distance? Yes, it has. Nerves of steel from George Ford. There goes the gong. We'll probably play one more phase. We'll probably continue. I think that's going to happen because the gong happened after the kick. But when you're not expecting to have the duties, Paul Grayson, what a kick from George Ford. Lumped it over from plenty far out. England lead 10-0 and we're almost at half-time.
Day after day, hour after hour, that's what you practice for. He has genuinely world-class numbers these days, George Ford. No surprise he nailed that.
Well, England have hacked it out. England have hacked it straight out. The ball came loose from the restart, and Anthony Watson turned around and belted it as far out of Yokohama as he could manage. Look who's quickly down the tunnel, Andrew Mertens. It's all the All Blacks. England are staying on the pitch, and it's the double world champions who have rushed down the mouth of the tunnel. They're 10-0 down at the break.
Yeah, and the All Blacks have gone straight off, make the best use of this 15 minutes. I don't think the margin will be concerning for them, but I think they'll look at that zero. How often have we seen the All Blacks held scoreless in the 40 minutes of footy? They'll be looking at that zero saying, what are we not doing well? And they've got 15 minutes to sort it out.
Well, New Zealand have hightailed out of the ground. They're down in the changing rooms already, while England do a huddle on the halfway line. Sonia McLaughlin, we said this England team, this was their moment, this was their time to make legendary status. They're 40 minutes away from a World Cup final. They lead New Zealand by 10 points to 0.
They jog down the tunnel after a brief huddle on the pitch to an ovation from the England fans here. And in all the years of watching rugby, I'm not sure I've seen a better 40 minutes of rugby from England. It's a performance for the ages so far. Matt Dawson, do you agree?
It has been a tremendous 40 minutes, a blistering start, and great to get the try. Yeah, there is so far to go in this game. You could tell in that last 15 minutes there wasn't quite the intensity from England because they threw so much at New Zealand. But I mean, it just doesn't get any better than that. I don't think anybody on the planet would have expected England to be walking in with a 10-point start.
And it all stemmed from pre-game, England's first two plays, unconventional setup to face the Haka, and then a switch up at the kick-off to paint a different picture for New Zealand, to try and unsettle them a little bit and spice up the contest right from the off. What followed was probably 20 minutes of the best rugby we've seen from England under Eddie Jones. The shape of their attack, their manipulation of space, their use of their big runners as heavy ball carriers, as decoys, continued ability to create overlaps in the wide channels and test New Zealand's wide outside defence whilst delivering pinpoint accurate passing was a joy to behold. And almost the New Zealanders at 20 minutes were hanging on. They could have been 2 or 3 scores down. From an England point of view, unfortunately they weren't. but the All Blacks as ragged as I've seen them for a long time.
That was quite some pressure kick from George Ford. How much is this almost his defining hour?
He want the opportunity. George would back himself every day of the week. He'll be, upset by his change of role for the quarter-final, reinstated into that key decision-making position. Himself and Owen Farrell orchestrating England's attack, giving him fantastic width across the field. Farrell gets a bang to his knee. George Ford primed and ready to go. Carpe diem, as far as he's concerned.
Do you know what? I wouldn't be surprised if George Ford knew that he was going to miss the semi-final, the quarter-final, and come into the semi-final. It's not far from the realms of possibility that Eddie Jones could have that discussion with him because of the way he wanted to play against Australia, because how he felt the right game plan against New Zealand was the way that England are playing. It's difficult to play like that for 80 minutes because the game breaks up. It absolutely saps your energy. It's so frenetic, as you could probably tell from listening to the commentary of Chris Jones. It's just constant the whole way through. But it's going to be a battle of the benches for me now. Who have got the genuine finishers? It's all very even so far. I know it's 7-0, but who's got the better bench? Probably going to win it.
I want to mention the forwards, particularly. There was a chorus of Maro Itoje, but he has had a phenomenal 40, hasn't he?
Yeah, he has. He's looked back to his best in this tournament. Calm, assured, influential. Maro a year ago was kind of ragged, looked all arms and legs, and was playing beyond his limits. He's pivotal in the middle of that pack. It's very difficult to single them out, though. The kamikaze boys in the back row are just absolutely everywhere. Curry and Underhill chopping trees like you wouldn't believe, and then getting in and over the ball and effecting perfect technical turnovers in the white heater battle. The two props handling the ball, Billy Vunipola back to his best. That's why they're so hard to deal with, because they are 1 to 8. They can all carry it, they can all pass, they can all hit.
I wonder what odds you'd have got for New Zealand having 0 points on the board at half-time. Do you know this is only the second time that has happened in a Rugby World Cup match? Andrew Mertens, you just went, oh, really?
I'm surprised I didn't manage to do it. I don't think I did. I can't remember. But yeah, it's not usual that we've seen that, and it's a reflection on I know, Dorsey, completely agree with you before as well, that these teams don't look at possession and territory. But what it has been today is an indication of the dominance of England, and they've gone forward. As they continue to go forward, as they continue to assert some physical dominance in a way over the rucks and mauls, then the rub of the green starts going your way as well. You can start pushing things a little bit more. The likes of Itoje and Underhill can, go and try and steal the ball and maybe flop over a little bit more than they might otherwise do. But because they're dominant, they're going to get allowed to do that. And that's, they've been very, very good. They've earned that right, England.
I was just having a look at the replay of Manu Tuilagi's try, and it's the little mannerisms that, as a former player, you recall are the difference to being focused into a game and not. When Manu scored that try, Mako was the only guy to jump off his feet and pat him on the back and celebrate. The players went up to him, but there was as if there was a calmness of, yep, that's what we were supposed to do, that's what we're going to do, get back to the halfway, let's get on with it and do our job. The same when they won the game in the quarter-final last week. They did a sort of a half-hearted lap of honour to the supporters, and then went into the changing room just to regroup and say, this is not enough, we want to go further.
There's a meme on social media vis-a-vis Owen Farrell having gone down in a heap. Basically, it's got a man jumping up and down on one leg, and it says, Owen Farrell, I'm invincible. Paul Grayson, do you think England can close this game out without him if he has to come off?
They'll have to find a way, Sonia. You just talked about George Ford before. If Farrell goes off, it's all on his shoulders to keep the team moving forward and manage his chess pieces around the field. Farrell's hugely influential. We don't exactly know what's wrong with him. If it is a dead leg and he'll get a massage at half-time, might come out a minute or two early, try and get the blood back in the legs. Didn't look catastrophic from what I saw, and the longer England can keep him on, as long as he's not a physical liability, his mental strength is something that certainly helps England over the course of the second half.
You can join in the karaoke now in the stadium. Take Me Home, Country Road.
Leave that to you, Sanj.
I'm going to sing while you go to the news. Richard Foster.
On digital, BBC Sounds, smart speaker and online.
This is BBC Radio 5 Live.
Police are still questioning 4 people after 39 bodies were found in a freezer lorry in Essex. At least 6 of the victims may have been from Vietnam. Zhang Nguyen is head of our Vietnamese service.
I've heard from a credible source within the Vietnamese diplomatic community. I understand that the Vietnamese embassy have been in touch with the police in Essex, and they are going there today again to see if they can help with the identification of the victims. But my fear is the number of Vietnamese at the back of that lorry may be growing, and could be growing much higher.
A second man has been charged over the deaths of 2 teenagers who were stabbed at a house party in Milton Keynes. Earl Bevans, who's 22, will appear in court later, charged with 2 counts of murder and 2 of attempted murder. At least 40 people have been killed in a wave of violent anti-government protests in Iraq. 2 were reportedly hit by tear gas canisters fired by security forces in Baghdad. Protesters are demanding more jobs, better public services and an end to corruption. The Governor of California has declared a state of emergency in 2 counties because of rapidly spreading wildfires. Around 50,000 people have been told to leave their homes and many more have been left without power. The world's leading learning disability film festival has been recognised as a BAFTA qualifying short event. The Oscar Bright Film Festival features movies made by or featuring people with learning disabilities. It's seen a 4-fold increase in the number of submissions since it was last held. Eleanor's autistic and has a film at the festival.
A lot of people don't accept people who are different these days, even when apparently our modern day world is meant to accept everyone that's different. When I try and fit in, it's never good enough. And sometimes I just think, well, stuff that, why would I want to be like them, like everyone else?
And nearly 1 in 3 night workers are now over 50, according to research from the TUC. It says around 900,000 regularly work through the night and is calling for better protection for their health and well-being.
This is BBC Radio 5 Live. On digital, BBC Sounds, smart speaker and online.
That's the news. Here's Alina Jenkins with the weather.
Hello, we've got a very wet morning across much of England and Wales, particularly across Wales, the Midlands, northern and southwest England. This band of rain will be working its way south and eastwards through the day, bringing some heavy and persistent rain. Ahead of this, we've got some gusty winds across southern counties of England. Behind this area of rain, eventually we'll see some spells of sunshine developing across northern England, North Wales and southwest England through the afternoon. And further north from this, for Northern Ireland and Scotland, a good deal of sunshine around after a cold start, but also some fairly frequent showers, particularly across northwest Scotland, where they could be quite blustery, and some of those showers developing across Northern Ireland through this afternoon. Quite a temperature contrast to the north of our rain band. Temperatures will only get to maybe between 6 to 10 Celsius. Further south, it stays quite mild, of 16 to 18 Celsius, but eventually all of us will be in that colder air as the rain clears its way south and eastwards through this evening.
On the roads, Greater Manchester and the southbound M66. 1 lane's closed and there's queuing traffic because of an accident at Junction 3, the turn for Hollins. In Merseyside, the M53 northbound has a lane closed and there are delays because of an accident from Junction 5 at Eastham to Junction 4 at Bebington. Worcestershire and the southbound M5. The earlier accident still causing delays. 1 vehicle involved in the crash between Junction 7 at Worcester and Junction 8 at the M50, but all lanes have been reopened there. And on the M25, all traffic is currently being held stationary because of an accident. The vehicles left the carriageway from the A21 Sevenoaks Road at the Hewitts roundabout to Junction 4 at Orpington. Richard Foster, 5 Live Travel.
F1, the Japanese Grand Prix.
It's not going to be enough for Lewis Hamilton on the final lap of the Japanese Grand Prix. Heading down towards 1:30 for the final time, but it's Valtteri Bottas who comes out of the final corner and for the first time since Azerbaijan wins the Grand Prix. It's victory for Bottas in Japan.
Next, the Mexico Grand Prix. Race commentary from 8 p.m. on Sunday.
F1 on 5 Live.
Konnichiwa. Rugby World Cup 2019
on 5 Live and 5 Live Sports Extra.
England are 40 minutes from the World Cup final after a blistering first half against the All Blacks.
Makavillopoulos 5 metres out. England need to show composure and come to the right. Young's the ball's a bit slow. Here's Courtney Laws. He's a matter of inches short. England pick and go again, and they score round the fringe. challenge, and it's Manu Tuolangi as England make quite simply the dream start to this semi-final.
They lead 10-0 at the break, but there are injury concerns over Owen Farrell. You've been getting in touch on social media. Alistair, England are exuding a psychological advantage over the All Blacks in a World Cup semi-final. Amazing. Liam says England playing so well. How do we only have a 10-point lead? The second half to come here on 5 Live.
Rugby World Cup 2019
on 5 Live.
Second half coming up very shortly, with England currently leading 10-0 away from the Rugby World Cup. The Southampton manager, Ralph Hasenhüttl, says he takes 100% responsibility for his side's 9-0 record-equalling Premier League loss to Leicester last night. He's apologised to fans and described the defeat as horrible. Great Britain Rugby League Lions have lost 14-6 to Tonga. That's an invitational side. It's their first international match since 2007. Lewis Hamilton only 5th fastest in second practice at the Mexican Grand Prix with Ferraris. Sebastian Vettel setting the pace. Tiger Woods has a 2-shot lead at the rain-delayed Zozo Championship, and the race meetings at Doncaster and Newbury have been called off due to a waterlogged track. And Mark Chapman's going to be here at 12 noon to continue with 5 Live Sport. He'll have all the afternoon's football, including commentary of Brighton against Everton. The All Blacks are back out on the pitch. We've got some drizzle here in Yokohama. Liam was asking the question, how do we only have a 10-point lead, he says, of England? Matt Dawson, if you can you understand fans being a little bit nervous that they've had all the possession but not the points?
Never happy. Hey, we're never happy as England fans, are we? We're 10 points up against the All Blacks in the World Cup semi-final.
But is it going to be enough, though? I think that's what people are thinking. Yeah. It's the All Blacks.
We would take that all day long. You're going to be... I would much rather be in a white shirt, shorts and blue socks with white trim right now than any other team in the world. The way they're playing, they've had a nice rest, regroup. OK, it's New Zealand's kickoff. Slight advantage where they play, but this first 2 or 3 minutes, Sonia, I think will absolutely dictate whether the destiny of England getting into a World Cup final is potentially their reality.
Second half to come. England with one giant thigh 13 foot in a World Cup final. Can they see it out for the full 80? Commentary from Chris Jones.
So, fair bit to report already, Sonia. We've not even had kick-off. Sam Cane on for the All Blacks and Scott Barrett off. I'm not sure if that's a reflection on Barrett's performance. He was pretty decent, but Cane is on. England have been dominating all facets of this game, and they've won the restart. Curry sets it up, Young's kicks. All Blacks now have it through Barrett on his own 22, but in centre field, Sevu Reece. Bit of broken field maybe for the champions. Out to Cody Taylor, who, as all New Zealand number 2s do, just hugged the touchlines. Set up by Taylor halfway, 10-0 to England. Farrell is continuing. He jogged out, really sprinted out of the tunnel as if to show all the England fans, I'm OK, don't you worry. Bridge on the far side as New Zealand link with Leonard Brown, who loses it as the rain starts to come down. It was drizzling pretty hard at half-time. Now it may have relented slightly. Nice ball, Ritalik Surveyor. That's better, New Zealand. Have they had a rocket from their coaches? Youngs is almost on that loose ball. Penalty, though, to New Zealand.
Chasing that ball, you.
Oh, no, it's gone to England. It's gone to England. Nigel Owens was giving it one way, and now the England fans have seen which way the arm is going. Ben Youngs was taken out, and England have the penalty on halfway. And Paul Grayson, I wonder if this is Elliot Daly timing up. He's walking up, he's marching forward from fullback.
Absolutely, 51 metres or 50 metres and a foot or so for Elliot Daly, almost dead in front. But it was Sam Whitelock, as the ball bobbled out the back of the New Zealand ruck, obstructed Ben Youngs, who was going to try and dive on the ball. Just the sort of, I wouldn't say good fortune, because it was good England pressure at the breakdown that stopped the All Blacks from playing.
Matt Dawson, you're in chipper mood, Matt.
Well, yeah, listen, again, that's I'm going to say a 50-50, but you could have got away with that. Whitlock could have got away with it. But if you're going to win these games, you're going to get a bounce of the ball, you're going to get a call, the referee sees it from a certain angle, up steps Thunderboot.
Elliot Daly did it for the Lions in that drawn third test. Here he is from 50 plus metres. Has he got under it? Has he got the distance? Up to the post it goes, and he pushes it to the left. Oh, an opportunity for England to go 13-0 up, and whoever you're playing, whatever the game, that is a handy lead. It's more than handy. He got the distance, and it just faded to the left. Andrew Mertens, we're standing up, you're sitting down, you're trying to stay composed. From a Kiwi point of view, 10-0 it remains.
Yeah, they'll be very happy, the All Blacks, that England didn't get to sign the scorecard first in the second half, and he just got under a little bit, Elliot Daly, didn't he? Didn't strike it quite as cleanly as we know him to.
George Ford's kick's an excellent one, and Daly competed. Underhill rushed up, but I think it's in England possession here. Yes, it is. England have it. Farrell just kicks it forward. I wonder if England could have kept the ball in the hand there. New Zealand have knocked on. New Zealand have knocked on, and England do have it back, regardless of whether it was kicked away. They now have it through Watson. They're inside All Black territory. Courtney Laws played back in 2012, the last time England beat New Zealand. Mako Vunipola was part of the Lions outfit that got that heroic series draw 2 years ago. Ford, he's jinking, and he gets an offload away. It goes to Billy Vunipola, not Underhill. Young's over to May. It was loose for May, but May manages to gather possession cleanly and set it up. Now will England just look to slow it down? No, they speed it up as Sinclair finds Billy Vunipola. Youngs comes left, Farrell, opportunity, Curry, it's intercepted, Sevi Reece, and he throws an offload, and Youngs gets it, and Youngs kicks through, and Barrett can't pass to anyone, and England rush up and make the tackle. What is going on in Yokohama? Penalty to England. New Zealand are off their feet. Nigel Owens gives the penalty. Andrew Mertens shakes his head. Matt Dawson pounds the table, and England have a penalty as Jamie George claps towards the England fans. And whether it's George Ford or Owen Farrell, you've got to be building a score, even though the penalty is only a few metres in from touch. Matt Dawson.
Mertz, I've got to hand this over to you. You said earlier the All Blacks aren't rattled. You can't tell me that the All Blacks are not rattled in the way that they're playing that out of their own 22, 4 minutes into the second half.
Yeah, they're just forcing a few things, aren't they? Sevi Reece took that intercept as we see England going for touch. They're going to have a line out 5 metres out from the All Black line. But Sevi Reece didn't need to throw that ball. He'd taken the intercept, he'd averted danger, hold on to that, he threw it, and Ben Youngs came through with the intercept.
England have gone for the corner. They've not taken the points. They did this at Twickenham last year. It didn't pay off that day. Will it pay off in the biggest stage of all? The Rugby World Cup, the semi-final. England have also been forced into a change as May comes off, but more importantly, they're rolling on England with the maul. They're only 5 metres out. Ben Youngs digging for it. He comes right, he dummies and scores! Ben Youngs is in! Total class from the England 9, and now we see the outpouring of emotion from the England players. Is that the killer blow? Is that one of the key tries in England rugby history? Ben Youngs scores, and their lead's up to 15.
Powerful maul from England, having gone to the corner. They were in total control, gave it a couple of nudges, and then they got runners set out to the right of the maul. All the options were covered by Kiwi defenders, apart from the man who was in possession of it. Ben Youngs used them all as a foil, opened a little space for himself and sprinted over. Classic scrum half finish.
That is years in the making. I'm going to go selfish here. Oh, hold on a minute, what's going on? Is the referee having a pause here for a moment?
Knock on in the maul, guys. Come on.
Oh, no.
It was on the big screen in replay, and I think that's the only way they've detected that.
Wow.
Okay.
God, well, I'll say it anyway.
Forward in the maul, okay?
Right, now it's only going onto the screen now.
We're having a look to see whether there was a knock-on. Oh, it looks close. Don't go on the ground.
And he doesn't lose control of that.
Oh, he's lost. So is it Mako Vunipola's gone to grab? Yeah.
He's gone to
grab the ball to get to the back of the maul. And as he's grabbed it, it's actually released from the player in front of him. Then the player in front of him has gone for the ball again.
A decision for you, please.
Okay, you have a decision from the Maris. What is it?
Right, so we have a player in the maul who loses the ball.
Yeah.
And then it's regathered by a player in front of him.
So accidentally.
Yeah, so you need to cancel the try, and it is a scrum to black.
There you go then. England denied by the eagle eye of the television match official, or, as Andrew Mertens pointed out, the thousands of All Blacks fans who would have seen the big screen.
The guy who gathers it is in front of him.
Here's Owens and Farrell.
Yeah, but he's in front of him. So he's... Owen, please listen to my explanation. The TMO was confirmed, okay? What we looks like on the screen as well. That it comes from the player behind, loses control of it, and taken by the player in front of him. So therefore we cannot allow the try because he's in front. If he was behind him, it's not an issue.
So no try?
No try.
So they're handing in on the ball, ripping it?
No, nothing. Nothing at that.
Boos from the England fans that no try is confirmed by referee Nigel Owens. You heard him there, Paul Grayson, talking to Owen Farrell, and Ben Youngs' try chalked off.
And you felt that was the game right there and then. That would have been 17 points as a lead and no way back for the All Blacks, but it's a good spot. It did go forward. That's the second try England have had disallowed.
I saw that on the screen, and of course you know what New Zealanders are like when we lose. We're straight away into the refereeing and stuff like that, so I didn't want to say it, but it does call into question again the power and the influence of local broadcasters, what they choose to play as replays, when they choose to play it. We've seen it in South Africa with Liam Messam a couple of years back. We've seen it. When are we going to define how much influence, proper influence, is being held by the broadcasters?
I think it's a great question, Andrew Mertens, but probably one for another day. England 10, New Zealand 0, and as you rightly point out, it was the big screen that the officials saw. Ben Youngs no try. In the first half, Sam Underhill no try. That one was probably more clear-cut, as New Zealand gleefully, with total relief, hack it towards touch. England still have the field position, they still have the possession, they still have the lead, but it's 10-0 rather than 17.
Some of those questions we asked in build-up, Chris, about where England could potentially put pressure on the All Blacks. Well, we talked about their back three, the inexperience of their wingers, the fact that Sevu Reece had never been genuinely tested at this level. He's made a couple of big mistakes when in possession. He's thrown risky offloads that on your way to the top they all go to hand, but today it's not going his way, and he almost handed the game on a plate to England there when he could have got his All Blacks team out of trouble. So some of those things that we pinpointed starting to come to pass as England make some changes.
And Matt Dawson, England have had to make two. Johnny May is off, Henry Slade's gone to full-back, Elliot Daly to the wing, and now tight head Carl Sinclair limping and Dan Cole's on, Matt, as England win the line out. Ben Youngs into centre field, he's darting all over the place. Ford knocked on by England, back in New Zealand possession.
Yeah, just a little bit of disharmony in the back line with replacements coming on.
Well, New Zealand are playing so fast and loose. I mean, I think back, Paul Grayson, to that Sevu Reece unnecessary offload, and it's been turned over by England. What are the All Blacks doing? England fans don't care. England fans listening to us, wherever you are, you won't care. But it's England's ball. Mako Vunipola. The lead is 10 points to 0. England 33 minutes away from a World Cup final. Ford scoops it up and just passes to Jamie George in centre field. Henry Slade is on, remember. Ford, though, finds Tom Curry. Good carry from Curry. How much has he improved in that area? Now Maro Itoje on a wide arc. He's hauled down just about by the New Zealand forwards. Now they're coming again through Watson, who has been so dangerous today. Advantage being played by referee Owens. Will Ford or Farrell drop back to the pocket? No. Ford finds Farrell. Now Henry Slade steps inside Reece. Only 7 metres out. Will England look just for the penalty, or will they keep playing and try and turn the screw on the double world champions who are on the rack? Ford out to Billy Vunipola, centre field. 15 metres out, England. The ball is loose. That might now be advantage over. Watson is tackled, and we're going to go back for the penalty.
Tackle off the ball.
Number 20, Black.
Number 20, Black.
Sam Kane with a tackle off the ball. It's been seen by the officials, and England, Paul Grayson, will throw this over from bang in front.
All stemmed from another turnover from New Zealand. A dreadful pass to no one across their own 22. Ball went to ground. One of England's back rowers, Tom Curry, I think, got in and won the ball again. Magnificent technique, gets hold of the ball, lets the clearer drive him away from, and almost use the leverage of the attempted clear out to prize the ball free. And England back into attacking shape and pulling the All Blacks this way and that.
And it's just, we have to remember, every single player on this pitch, they're human, they're normal people like you or I, and they feel pressure. And nobody has squeezed New Zealand in this tournament. No one has got close to putting them onto the mental strain and stress that they usually put on their opposition. And like any other human being, you start to make some strange decisions, and New Zealand have made far too many of them.
Almost at the 50-minute mark, as George Ford lines up this penalty, he nervelessly nailed one right at the end of the half from way out. This is slap bang in front. This is only 18, 19 metres. England lead by 10 points to nil. It could, maybe should be more, but it's still a handy lead when you're facing the double back-to-back world champions in a World Cup semi-final. Ford slams it through, to the roars of approval from the England fans, who are on their feet, but there's still just an element of tension. They can't quite release all of that joy yet, because they know this is New Zealand, who come back from behind as a matter of course. But England's lead, Matt Dawson, is healthy at 13 points to nil.
Listen, without a shadow of a doubt, the All Blacks have to score next. I mean, that is done. England go to 16, they go to 18, they go to 20. Game done.
Another change, Paul Grayson. What have you seen? A couple of changes.
Geordie Barrett's on the field. I think that's George Bridge coming off for him.
Cody Taylor.
And they'll have a reshape in their back line.
Cody Taylor, Dane Coles is on. Started the World Cup final in 2015. Taylor's usurped him as Anthony Watson takes the kick-off and jinks out of his own 22. I'll bring in Andrew Mertens for a word in a moment about those changes, but the ball stays on the pitch as Young sends up a high box kick. It's pitch black here in Yokohama. England have it, they've regained it, and now Youngs comes back to Ford. Ford sees space behind Rees. That looks a nice kick, Ford. Is it going to stay in field? Yes, it is. Daly's got to chase hard. Back to Bowden Barrett. Barrett clears his lines, but once again, like we said in the first half, the territorial gain is all England's. And Andrew Mertens, England have the line out 40 metres from New Zealand's line. And talk us through those changes. Geordie Barrett on and Dane Coles on in the front row.
Well, Geordie Barrett, immediately you think of that cross kick, don't you? He's got the height over there, he's got speed, he's got skill, but he wasn't there when that ball came down from Ben Youngs. A good box kick, the pressure went on, and the ball just bobbled around, and those are the balls at the moment that are coming up in England's possession. It was Maro Itoje who'd gone through, the ball bounced up, he snaffled it. They're the little things that are going England's way at the moment.
England again are going off the top of the line now. Youngs to Ford, here's Manu Tuilangi. That was pretty simple, wasn't it? 10-13 in centre field. Youngs now, Billy Vunipola. What number carry is that? It's up to 13 for the big number 8. 13-0 to England as Ford finds Henry Slade, who tries to go on an arc outside Mwanga. The fly half clings on for dear life. Are England going to get a better chance of beating New Zealand for the first time in a Rugby World Cup? They lead 13-0 with 29 minutes left on 5 Live. Live at a packed-out Yokohama International Stadium as Billy Vunipola goes inside to brother Mako. Clever kick, Ben Youngs, all on the bounce. Back goes Geordie Barrett. He's got older brother Bowden with him. And Bowden Barrett looks for touch, and how rarely do we see that, Paul Grayson and Matt Dawson. The great Bowden Barrett just looking for touch and desperately trying to find it. England still have a great set-piece opportunity here with the line out in between the 22 and the 10-metre line in New Zealand's half.
England constantly squeezing New Zealand, forcing them to play out over and over again from their own 22. They're controlling the tempo, they're choosing when to give New Zealand the ball. This kick, a worse one than the last one, so England's set-piece another 15 metres up the pitch, only maybe not quite 30 metres out from the opposition line. Incremental improvements every time England force New Zealand to clear their lines under pressure.
Jamie George to throw. Will England look to go to the maul that almost led to that try for Youngs? This time they are going to maul as Itoje claims it brilliantly to tell. How good has England's line-out been? How on point have Jamie George and his throws been? And how high have Itoje and Laws leapt? England are still mauling.
This is old school England, rolling back the years to 2003. Will they do that again by winning the Rugby World Cup? Farrell out to Ford, lovely ball to Slade, kicks through for Daly, all on the bounce. Daly almost gets it. Sevu Reece somehow ended up with it, and then threw another dodgy offload, which was claimed by Mwanga, and the All Blacks are looking to run it out from their own 22. And that was so close, wasn't it, Paul Grayson, as Daly haired down on the kick through, but Reece and New Zealand just about got it.
And yet again, the All Blacks forced to play from 10 metres from their own line. Desperation stuff.
They're inside their own 22, New Zealand. Another England score could and should kill off this semi-final. They go for touch, they don't find it. Slater's looked so sharp since he's come on, and he takes it and runs into a sandwich. Half Surveyor, half Retallick. Oh, Surveyor's on that ball. That is brilliant. That is brilliant from Ardie Surveyor. He's going to get the penalty, but New Zealand may want to attack, even though they're 20 metres from their own line. Bowden Barrett, wide it goes. Coles loses it. We're going to go back for the penalty. England holding on. Surveyor all over the ball, Paul Grayson.
Yeah, Henry Slade, the ball was partially charged down the clearance from Mwanga. Henry Slade decided to pin his ears back and try and drive hard between two New Zealand tacklers. He got buried, Dawes.
It's headless. It was just a little bit headless from him. You can understand it because there's you know, it's all on England, and he wants to make the impact. He's come on the field. He's at fullback. He's got a bit of range to go, but he's isolating himself there unnecessarily. He could have jogged at the opposition, waiting for his support players to come and win that ruck, because that is all that England need to do. Go through the phases in the opposition. New Zealand are going to give a penalty way kick, another 3.
Changes for the All Blacks. TJ Perenara comes on to replace Aaron Smith at 9. And Jack Goodhue makes way for Sonny Bill Williams. They've reshaped their backline. Leonard Brown goes to 13. Sonny Bill at 12. He needs a big 20 minutes, Mertz.
Emptying the bench, Steve Hansen, isn't he, Andrew Mertens? And that is some touch finder from the All Blacks. Coles to throw in. New Zealand aren't far from England's 22.
Yeah, flew pretty poorly, that kick, and the English fancied themselves of getting that back in the field of play, but it went out. Good attacking opportunity, and Sonny Bill Williams, we know they've always been very, very tactical about their use of him. Let's hope it's the right time for New Zealand's sake.
Sonny Bill Williams, a double world champion, as is this man Retallick. Dane Coles comes round the corner from a little line-out move. Now New Zealand, Sam Cane hit hard on the gain line by Itoje. Can England hold firm? We're nearing the hour mark in Yokohama. England 13, New Zealand 0. But this is a rare, meaningful All Black attack today. Mwanga out to Anton Leonard-Brown, who's been joined by that man Sonny Bill Williams. Quick ball, TJ Perenara back inside. Joe Moody, the loose head, only 15 metres out. Back-to-back world champions looking to make it 3. They've got to come from behind. Big tackle. Sam Underhill was it, who's gone and absolutely smoked the New Zealand ball carriers. Careful. Now kicked through by Bowden Barrett. Paul Grayson, you just said off mic, careful.
England committing players to the breakdown, 2-3-4. If you do that, the All Blacks switch the play and find a space somewhere else.
Perenara, Barrett's up at first receiver once more. 22 for the All Blacks. England lead by 13-0. Sam Cane, lovely ball to Sonny Bill. American football pass to Sevu Reece. Sevu Reece for the corner. Good tackle, Manu Tuolangi. Helped out by Henry Slade as well. Perenara thought it was high, and he's pointing at Henry Slade accusingly, as if to say that Slade came in with a high shot, and he's still chuntering Perenara. I wonder if the replays on the big screen will show that, but that was gorgeous from the All Blacks. Lovely interplay. Sonny Bill with an American football pass out to Reece, and a combination of Tuolangi and Slade took the flying winger out. We're seeing a replay again.
He could be in trouble here. Could be in trouble. Slade's not got his arms out. He's led in with the shoulder, right shoulder. It's low. It's on the way down. There is a mitigating circumstance there. However, there was no grace. There was no way that there was an arm, both arms involved in that tackle. This is a huge call. No better referee to make it, mind you. No better referee to make it than Nigel Owens. He's been here before. He knows the drill.
Okay. Let's clear it, please.
Yeah, we're checking to see if you were up in. Time out then.
Yeah, we're not in red card territory because, as Matt Dawson has said, it's low. There's no head contact.
But it's all about Paul Grayson, whether there is an effort to wrap from Henry Slade. If it's shoulder, we're looking at a penalty and maybe a yellow card. And then maybe the conversation over a penalty try, even though Tuolangi had taken him out of play.
Tuolangi did so well to cover Reece, and I don't think he was ever going to score. Henry Slade drove in hard, right shoulder. He got his head on the wrong side.
Well, there is a right arm, isn't there, Andrew Mertens? There is a right arm.
Can I give you my view?
Yeah, well, I'm no specialist on the tackle.
I'm seeing Black actually coming in, and I'm just seeing an attempt to make the tackle from what I'm seeing here, but unless you've got a different view for me.
I think that. Yeah. So I see an attempted wrap here. Yeah. And I think that we've cleared it and we can carry on.
Okay, there we go.
Thank you.
So what actually happened is that Henry Slade, he kind of bounced Sevu Reece a bit, so that's why it looked a bit like a shoulder. Henry Slade's one of the most relieved men in Japan at the moment, but the tackle was fine because there was a right arm up. Andrew Mertens, are you happy with that call as Jamie George prepares to throw?
Yeah, I think so. When Dorse said before that there's no better referee to make that call, I thought he was talking about me, but the point was that Slade didn't tuck his underarm and make it into tuck his underarm right under and make it into a shoulder charge. So yeah, good for me. Just look bad.
England have lost the line out. Arnie Surveyor scores, and New Zealand are right back into this semi-final. The first time practically all game that England's line-out goes wrong, and George has just put it into the bread basket of Arnie Surveyor, who couldn't miss. And New Zealand, it's taken them 56 minutes, but they're on the board, and they've scored, and the lead is down to just 8 points.
And there's no excuses there, guys. They've had a break. They would have known what the line-out was going to be. They've called it. I mean, it's not even gone anywhere near the jumper. It's a missed time. Maratoji's not at the top of his jump.
He was covered.
Oh, my goodness me.
This is an enormous conversion in the context of the game for Richie Mo'unga. He is 13 metres in from the right-hand touchline. He's dragged the ball back outside the 22, probably 25 metres out. He's a very good goal kicker. But England with a precarious 8-point lead, even more precarious if he puts this over and it drops to 6.
Well, this is why it is so hard to shake off the All Blacks. England have been overwhelmingly dominant for almost an hour, but Richie Mo'unga can take this to 13-7. He's kicked it, Andrew Mertens, he's kicked it. England 13, New Zealand 7. It might be a gift, but could it be the gift that New Zealand need to keep their World Cup dream alive?
Oh, very, very important. You've got to say it's a soft try, it's a fortuitous try for the All Blacks. England will not be happy, but it doesn't matter, it's on the scoreboard. And that was a really good kick from Richie Mo'unga. Elliot Daly was lining up to give that absolute death, and he only got halfway because Mo'unga went off the short run. Very, very clinical with the kick.
I just saw Retallick. Retallick was competing with Maro Itoje, and that split second of George would have thought, oh, this has got to be spot on, just over the double top.
Well, if we cast our minds back to Twickenham last year, as Barrett from the restart finds his touch and England will throw into the line out just inside the New Zealand half. England had a 15-point-0 lead at Twickenham last year. New Zealand won 16-15, 13-0 here. It's now 13-7. It's often said, Paul Grayson, you need to beat the All Blacks twice. England need another wind. They need another wind as we go towards the final quarter.
They got to get back to dominating possession and pulling this All Black defence backwards and forwards across the field. Don't stop playing.
What a noise in Yokohama. Ben Youngs to George Ford on the gain line. Tuolangi into Sonny Bill. What a meeting of man mountains. Youngs to the right. Ford, Henry Slade on a direct carry. England just not quite with that same shape and intensity of the first half. But who can blame them? That would have taken it out of the men in white. England have it inside the All Black half. Now back to the halfway line. Farrell inside to Itoje. Can England go through the phases, maybe milk a penalty, just to take the sting out of the All Blacks, who'll be cock-a-hoop after that try? Swing low, sweet chariot, but it's not as loud as it was in Oita last weekend. Ford, is that a clever kick? It's just holding up for Barrett inside the 22. Slade, what a tackle! Underhill! Underhill has just upended Barrett, and he's knocked on, has Barrett. And England have it, there are numbers, they've got to move it. Ben Youngs out to Tuolangi, he's got Daly outside, Daly steps inside. Despairingly tackled by TJ Perinara. England only 5 metres out. Advantage over for the knock-on. Can they try and kill off this semi-final? Billy Vunipola runs through Coles,
4 metres out, England, an hour gone. They lead 13-7. Have they got the shape? Have they got the accuracy? Mako Vunipola from Ben Youngs' pass. 3 metres out. They pick and go round the corner. The England forwards. Cruz is in there. It all started with Underhill's tackle on Barrett. Underhill's now in there helping out Billy Vunipola. 19 minutes left. Youngs has a posse of forwards to the right. He's been denied a try already. Ben Youngs winning his 94th cap. Advantage to England. Will they throw caution to the wind? They need to flood to the right now. Youngs, he goes deep. Henry Slade is outside, but Ford knocks on. It was a low pass. And now surely, even though I thought England would kick to goal when they actually went to the corner and almost scored, surely this time Paul Grayson and Matt Dawson, you've got to take the points just to the left of the post.
There will be no question whatsoever. This is a 6-point ball game right now. Building a score is crucial. They take the 3, they take it to 9, they just take the sting out of that try from Ardie Surveyor. What on earth was Geordie Barrett running into the tackler in the world in his own 22? What are you thinking there?
Build up of pressure, isn't it? England repeatedly forcing New Zealand to get out of their own 22 over and over again. Ford popped the ball in. Nice little kick, found grass. Barrett flat out made a mental error.
A word from Andrew Mertens in a moment, but let's see if George Ford can kick his 3rd penalty of this semi-final. England need 13-7. 16-7 would feel a lot better after that Ardie Surveyor try. Don't know about you guys, but my WhatsApp threads are going nuts. Reports from back home, people feeling sick. I'm not okay is the latest one that's come through. Is that the feeling everyone's got at home, on the road, wherever you're listening to us? 18 minutes for England to hang on. And we've got to do it all over again tomorrow with Wales in the second semi-final. Ford for 16-7. He's got it. Didn't look like missing. What a day George Ford is having. And Andrew Mertens, once again, the resolve of this All Blacks machine is being tested. England 16, New Zealand 7. Only 17 minutes left of the semi-final.
Yes, it really is, and we saw the response there, just the clutch decision from Geordie Barrett. Good kick, as Paul said, a good kick from George Ford to make the ball land in between the Barrett brothers, and they just couldn't get it right, and then trying to flick the pass off to Tuangafasi, fraught with danger.
Both coaches using the bench, as you would expect. What a moment for Willie Hines. A million miles away from the World Cup squad a year ago. Now he's looking to close out a semi-final. He's on for Ben Youngs, who I think Matt Dawson has been back to the form of old. Almost scored a killer try, and just like in Oita, he's had a good game.
Yeah, he's just been instrumental in the way that England have played. The pace at which England have played so deserved that try. But Willie Hines, he's got that age, he's got the experience, and he's enjoying playing in this England team.
32-year-old is the oldest member of this England squad. It's been knocked on by England from Hines' box kick. This is why the likes of Ben Spencer and Danny Kerr haven't been included, because Eddie Jones thinks that Hines can close out these tight knockout games. New Zealand have been bundled into touch, Paul Grayson, but back for the knock-on. It was knocked on by England as they chased Hines' box kick. New Zealand scrum, 10-metre line, inside England's half. England 16, New Zealand 7, 16 minutes away from a World Cup final, England.
And England have just shut off that short side that's such a favourite of the All Blacks. If they've got 15, 20 metres short side, they'll go back down it, back their skills to create some space. Even if they're 4 against 4, 5 against 5, they'll work it into a position where they can dominate a collision and get an offload away. They've literally done it 10 times today, gone down the short side, got nothing out of it.
It's as if they've shown the outside to New Zealand, but they've absolutely blocked the inside to make the Kiwis think that they can have a look back inside, and there's this rush of 2 or 3 players that not only have tackled them, but they put them into touch, Grace, and it makes New Zealand look like a little bit schoolboy, because you never go into touch, do you?
No, don't get driven into touch, and it's England are 1 to 23 plus coaching staff absolutely on the same page today. Everything they've planned for, attack and defence, they've just about managed to execute.
Paul Grayson and Matt Dawson with us on 5 Live as always too. Many were part of the England World Cup squad of 2003. This current crop are 16 minutes away from their date with destiny next weekend. And Andrew Merton's former All Blacks fly half, one of the greats in that number 10 shirt. When do the All Blacks, or do they ever, start to panic? 16-7 down with 16 minutes left.
Well, no, I think they've had a look at situations like this and said, you know, let's just try and be methodical. You know, let's recognise that you get under stress, but let's still make good decisions. They haven't made great decisions at a number of times throughout the game, just clutching at it. And now they're worried. Ardie Savea just getting some attention. If he goes off, they don't have a loose forward cover. Patrick Tuipulotu will come on, but Ardie Savea in some real pain at the moment, and I think that's an issue as well because they're expecting him probably to come off the back of the scrum.
Set-piece attack from the All Blacks.
Perenara over the 10-metre line to the left. He's got too much space to go into. Mwanga's over the 22. That was a little bit too easy, Paul Grayson. From New Zealand, Sonny Bill's wide ball, big tackle to Alangi, big tackle, and did that go forward? Referee Nigel Owen seems happy it went backwards or sideways, but the pace and intensity taken out of that All Blacks attack by Manu Tuilagi.
Yet again, Manu Tuilagi chancing his arm, cutting off the passing lane or putting himself in a position to absolutely belt someone.
Well, England are pinching in from the outside, stopping that long pass, so Sonny Bill has gone direct. Billy Vunipola sent flying. Beauden Barrett's up from fullback. Tuilagi's again putting his body on the line. How many tackles has Tuilagi made? Plenty. It's another huge hit coming in by England. Was that a Toje? Dan Cole's on the wrong side, but England are just rocking New Zealand back and forcing them to kick. Daly has to turn. Clever kick, Beauden Barrett. Henry Slade, he slips. Severis has got him. Is Severis going to turn the ball over as well? No, he was off his feet. England just about have it. Good scrambling from Henry Slade. England now have to clear their line, guys. As Hines digs for the ball, goes back to Ford. Ford has time. Ford has poise. And he makes an excellent touch. New Zealand go quickly. Beauden Barrett to younger brother Geordie. Over to Sonny Bill Williams. Leonard Brown, was that forward to Reid? It was on the borderline. But New Zealand still have it. Underhill now with a big tackle. This England defence has been brutal and inspired. Perenara, Sonny Bill Williams, Beauden Barrett. A wide ball is a shocker out to Rees, who has to step and go inside. It was Angus Tautau who threw the wild pass, and now England have got it. They've turned it over, but it's going to be a penalty against England. Off their feet, hands in the ruck. England's defence was equal to almost everything the All Blacks threw at them, Matt Dawson and Paul Grayson, but they've given a penalty away, and there are England bodies now strewn across the Yokohama turf.
Yeah, I'm not sure that was ever going to be a try for New Zealand. Surely they would have gone back for that forward pass. But my goodness me, some of the tackles here. Maro Itoje has absolutely drilled Retallick into the final. I mean, smashed his way into his midriff, put him down. And it's just these little moments, or massive moments, you can feel the lift. You can feel the lift from the England side. These players that we asked to step up. There's a little bit of... Chris, did you see anything? Grace, did you see anything?
Well, Sam Whitelock on Owen Farrell. In slow motion, it always looks worse, doesn't it? But
I didn't see anything there.
Whitelock had just put his hand into Farrell's face after the whistle was blown. Well, I think Marius Jonker's got it, you know.
We're going to have a few looks at it, I guess. We asked the big players. We asked the big players to step up. We asked Tuilagi. We asked Billy Vunipola.
And then off the
Ben
ball,
Youngs.
he pushed the man in the face off the ball, and the penalty's being reversed.
Penalty's going to be turned over here.
Number 5. Quite clear on the screens.
Sam Whitelock on Owen Farrell. It was soft. It was soft as anything, but Marius Jonker and Nigel Owens have seen it. Whitelock put his hand into Farrell's face. And Andrew Mertens, from a brilliant opportunity for New Zealand to go to within 5, you would say, of the England line. They've given the penalty away, and now we're looking at the last 13 minutes with England going into New Zealand's half, still with that 16 points to 7 lead, Mertz.
Yes, and that's when it starts coming into your head, is this just not meant to be? And that's when people start pushing passes even more, trying to win the game with one action. So, you know, a little bit silly, everything looks worse, as you say, in slow motion. But this is what the All Black defence often does to teams. Teams that haven't beaten them, like Scotland, might get through the phases. All of a sudden, one tackle, huge tackle comes out, and that's what Itoje's done today. It's what Manu Tuilangi has done today, just to stop them in their tracks.
Maro Itoje, we just saw a replay of his thunderous tackle on Whitelock. I wonder if that was lingering in Whitelock's mind as he was showing that little bit of frustration. It was soft, but both officials were in agreement. Penalty England. Now England have it on the 10-metre line. And we're getting at the stage, aren't we, everyone, that another England score puts them into the final. Well taken, Itoje. Retallick really competed. It means England have a hole in the line out to drive through, and they're doing just that. The England maul has gone 5 metres. 35 metres now from the All Black line. Hines back to Farrell. Advantage being played by referee Owens. Side entry on the maul. England will have a chance to go 19-7 up. The arm is still out from Owens. What will England do? Ford wings it to Farrell. Lovely ball to Billy Vunipola in the wide channel. He goes past Surveyor, who clings on well. Counter up coming in by New Zealand. No advantage. All Blacks in at the side. And this is absolutely, Matt Dawson and Paul Grayson, an opportunity for Ford or Farrell or Daly to take that lead out, well, to 12 points.
And you've got to think about where it came from. The All Blacks were in the England's 22 or just on the edge of it. They had won a penalty. It was their chance to go for a 5-metre line out, get potentially within 2 points of England. They find themselves giving a stupid penalty away, Whitelock, and then backing it up again.
Nigel Owens talking to Kieran Reid, the All Blacks captain.
Final and official warning. If I have other infringements down here, because they're mounting up, it's going to be a yellow card for somebody, okay? So go and have a word, and I'll restart the clock. Everything else will be refereed, don't worry. Go and have a word. Thank you.
England's maul there, like a, I don't know how many ton truck it was, but it was a lot. The torque and the traction that they were developing just blew the All Blacks away. There is no way the All Blacks could have stopped that without giving a penalty away. They have been demolished up front. This England pack have been utterly superb, but before all the mayhem ensues, whether it's a New Zealand comeback, whether it's an England win, this fella right here, George Ford, what do you say about him? Certainly what I've said about him. Give me the big games, show me what he can do in the big games. And he has been brilliant today, brilliant off the tee, out of hand, directing play, making tackles, turnovers, reefing props, the ball from the props. I mean, it's been scintillating to watch. It's been a pleasure.
Once and for all, stepping out of Owen Farrell's shadow, you feel today, George Ford. This is a tough kick, though. 16-7 England lead. He's only about 12 metres in from touch, in front of us here in Yokohama, pitch black. As Ford looks deliberately at the post. Only 11 minutes left of this semi-final. Ford, blue boots, up he steps. Shuffles towards the ball, the strike's a beauty. I think he's nailed it. Yes, he has nailed it. That's magnificent from George Ford. And is that the kick that sends England into the World Cup final and a date with destiny? George Ford's kick is magnificent, and England's lead is up to 12, and we're almost in the final 10 minutes now. England 19, New Zealand 7 in this semi-final.
And that horrible feeling you have when you're only one score away from the All Blacks, that they're going to come snatch victory away from you, is ebbing away. 10 minutes to go, England in control.
And they've lost it, New Zealand, from the restart. Who else but Tom Curry is on it? And England fans now are on their feet, and maybe they're not nervous anymore. Maybe they're going to enjoy this final 10, because 19-7 is a big lead when you're going towards the final 10 minutes, Paul Grayson. As New Zealand threw Barrett Hackett downfield, across comes the man of the moment, George Ford.
Like a cat with a mouse, forcing them back, making them play out, do it again.
He sends a towering Gary Owen up forward. Sevi Reece is by himself, so he's got an easy catch and goes over the 10-metre line, the All Blacks winger. But we've got to keep reiterating the score. It's 19-7 to England, and they have been absolutely dominant for 70 minutes. What have the All Blacks got? Kane over to Reece, but they're still deep inside their own half. Now Reece almost gets away. Lovely ball to Perinara, now to Coles. This is what the All Blacks have got. Coles is tackled, but he's got inside the 22. They're not beaten yet, the world champions. England, though, have won the penalty. Magnificent work on the floor. Mark Wilson on as a replacement. I don't know how he's done that, Mark Wilson, but he has.
Not legally.
And Andrew Mertens, he has forced the penalty, and you said the All Blacks will get at the ref if they're going to lose, and you reckon he was off his feet there?
No, I reckon it was a ruck form, but doesn't matter. England has scrambled so incredibly well there. The All Blacks have had few forays down there, and they've just been shut down. They haven't really looked like scoring, and same again. And the perception from referee Owens is that it's all above board, and that's credit to England. Well played.
Yeah, I mean, what an impact that is. If you're going to come on the field, it's very easy to get carried away with the atmosphere and the energy and the adrenaline coursing through the veins of I've got to make an impact. It's got to be the right impact. Mark Wilson, spot on. Yes, it was a bit close. It could have gone either way, but it went England's way. It was the right decision. Relieve the pressure.
And England win the line out through George Cruz, and they're mauling, and they're making the All Blacks look mortal, and they're marching them back towards the halfway line. They're still going, England. Cole and Itoje and Wilson and Cruz. The replacements are making an impact. Here's Willie Hines. Will he kick himself? Yes, he will. England just playing territory. Only 8 minutes left on 5 Live as Reece takes it. Who's up there? Is that Tom Curry once more? It is Curry. Unbelievable stuff from the sailman. Penalty, though, to New Zealand. Perenara goes quickly. Cruz makes the tackle. He was just about back 10 the Saracens' lock. Therefore, New Zealand, they go from one Barrett to the other, now over to the far side. Stepping inside is Anton Leonard-Brown. Over the halfway line he goes. It's 19-7 to England. New Zealand's only points coming from an overthrown England line-out. Perenara, he's trying to spark up the All Blacks. Nice ball to Sonny Bill Williams. He is tackled by Owen Farrell, who heroically is still on the pitch. He seems to have been limping from one of the opening few moments. And Cruz is up there making the tackle, and the ball is loose from New Zealand, and Perenara gives it to Geordie Barrett, and he's hauled down. Curry is there again. This guy is something else, Tom Curry. Sonny Bill Williams, but look where they are on the pitch, Matt Dawson, still inside their own half, New Zealand.
They don't seem to be able to create an overlap. Look, they're putting him into touch. What a tackle that is. Put Surveyor into touch from 5 yards away from the touchline, in England. Itoje, Wilson, Daly, Farrell again, Billy Vunipola smashing him into touch. I haven't seen a genuine All Black overlap for 10, 15, 20 minutes.
Absolutely relentless in defence, England. Such as their physical capabilities across this team. Every channel that the All Blacks try and get down is met by a whomping great hit from someone. Farrell was right in the middle of that, got in and underneath. Surveyor, helped by Billy Vunipola. England are, there's a white blanket across the full width of the field. New Zealand creating nothing, chasing shadows.
And there's a white blanket, Paul Grayson, the full width of the Yokohama Stadium, and they're on their feet, and they're singing Swing Low, and they're invoking memories of 16 years ago in Australia, when England won the Rugby World Cup. It's still only a semi-final. They have the final next weekend. But this England team is looking every inch the world champions. 6 minutes left, the lead is 12. New Zealand have to score 2 tries, and there might not be time to do it as Jonathan Joseph comes on for Manu Tuolangi. Matt Dawson, who is just praying as he comes off the pitch. And Tuolangi, all those missed years of rugby, another magnificent performance against New Zealand from the centre.
And stepped up, no thrills and spills, Chris. Did his job today, did his job supremely well.
Both sides of the ball, Tuolangi, brilliant. And England do win the line out. And we're getting at the point, aren't we now, guys, that there might not be time for New Zealand to score 2 tries. 6 minutes left, England 19, New Zealand 7. Reece has lost it, then it's been knocked on by England. If England had scooped that up, then they would have had a scrum in between the 22 and the 10-metre line. It will be a scrum, but Paul Grayson, it'll be to the All Blacks.
And yet again, another pinpoint kick. Fails to be diffused by the New Zealand back three. We asked those questions before the game. We've had the answers. Sevu Reece has not had his finest hour. 2 of 3 average offloads, not commanded the airwaves on his side of the field. Easy out for England to go after him again. And realistically, we have a quick look at the monitor. Although possession's evened up 54-46 in England's favour, England have been in total control.
Territory-wise, it's not been a contest. England have had so much ball in New Zealand's 22. And listen to the noise. I think the England fans are preparing to party now. Only 5 minutes left. New Zealand have to score now. Leonard Brown tackled just short of halfway. Perinara comes to the left. Barrett's hugging the touchline. That's the younger brother, Geordie. England just need to keep their shape and their discipline, Matt Dawson. Penalties might be the only way New Zealand have a sniff here as they run out from their own half. Leonard Brown tackled.
There's still no overlaps. Yes, they look threatening individually, but as long as England make one-up tackles, one-on-one tackles, New Zealand are going nowhere. Look at the white wall across the field.
It looks like England have 20 players on the pitch. 19-7 they lead, 4.5 minutes left. Barrett forced a kick. What's the bounce going to do? Well gathered, Willie Hines. Superb from the scrum half. And he finds Watson. And Watson's got a head of steam up. And he's got that right-footed jink. And he's almost up to the 22. Oh, Cowan Dickey needed to play scrum half there. He overran it. Now he's got it. I don't know why New Zealand didn't play it. Cowan Dickey's almost up to the 22. Hines comes left. Billy Vunipola. Ford is jinking, finds Dan Cole. Not quite Carl Sinclair, but a decent trundle nonetheless. Hines to the right. Joseph
Here we go.
Out to Curry. Luke Dickey and Wilson now on the far side to Watson. 5 metres out, England. Can they get any kind of ball? Geordie Barrett's on the wrong side. Now he rolls away. 3 minutes left. England are heading to the final. Luke Dickey drives on. He's made an impact, as have all the England replacements. Perinara's gone to play it. And referee Owens was happy, but we're coming back for the penalty from that ruck when Cowan Dickey went in. New Zealand slipped offside. And what do you do? What do you do here, Matt Dawson? You've won a World Cup. Do you kick for goal to make total sure, or do you spend the last few minutes of this semi-final camped in All Black territory?
You kick the three and you take every single second of your 60 that you get to go for goal. Take your time. Please do it. Somebody kick for goal, for goodness me. Just kick for goal. Get the clock down. Point at the post, please, Nigel Owens. Nothing other than 3 points. And do you know what? Even if it's not 3 points, it will probably go dead. They'll have to drop it out. Another minute and a half. Game done. England in a World Cup final.
12 years since England have been at the main dance, at the big event. They lost to South Africa in 2007. That was against the odds. That was under the radar. But England have smashed Australia, and they're smashing New Zealand. And George Ford, who has been at the heart of this performance, is lining up the kick at goal. And you kind of feel whether he gets it or not, England are back here next weekend for the final, because the clock is ticking, and it's still ticking. And all around the ground we see England fans standing up, clutching the red rose on their chests and celebrating an historic victory, the first over New Zealand in a World Cup ever. England 19, New Zealand 7. New Zealand need to score twice. They only have 2 minutes, and Ford can put this to bed now. 5 metres in from the touchline. He's been magnificent today, George Ford. Up he steps. As he got it, he's just slid it to the left. But the clock is still eating down to the point that they have to run it out, New Zealand. There goes Beauden Barrett. 40 metres in a flash. He offloads to Perinara, out to Sonny Bill, but the clock is still ticking. Was that a forward pass? Play on, says referee Nigel Owens. Mwanga flings it, almost despairingly. They're still going, New Zealand. Patrick Tuipulotu there, but they know their reign of world champions is ending here in Japan. Retallick, England still tackling, and look where New Zealand are. The wrong side of the pitch as far as they're concerned. Sonny Bill, good offload, but Rees has no space. And New Zealand are flinging it, and it's gone straight to Billy Vunipola. And England can enjoy these final 90 seconds. Dan Cole went to pass, he's far more comfortable with his head down. 1 minute left, England 19, New Zealand 7, Matt Dawson.
I mean, I know you're going to run the clock down and just chuck it up, but I just wanted England to score a try. They deserve to be 24, 26 points up with this type of performance, but you're just going to see you've got an easy comms to finish for you, Jonesy.
Black shirts flying all over the place, but it's in vain. Swing Low Sweet Chariot, the soundtrack. into the final minute. A famous night in Yokohama. The All Blacks counter-ruck. England trying to run the clock down, back with New Zealand, but there just isn't time for them to score twice. George Ford makes the tackle. What a game Ford has had. His coming of age. The main man wearing number 10 today, kicking the goals and leading England to a brilliant win. 19-7, everyone's on their feet around Yokohama. 25 seconds left. Can England finish in style, keeping the All Blacks at bay, as they've done for 79 minutes and 45 seconds? The England fans are going to start counting the clock. We're edging towards the final 10. Sonny Bill, wild offload. The All Blacks are gone. Sam Cane is tackled by Billy Vunipola. England are going into the World Cup final here. Matt Dawson claps. There goes the gong. Look at the white shirts on their feet. Perinara. New Zealand are static and England are smashing them back right to the last. Andrew Mertens is clapping out of appreciation for this England effort, and it's a wild ball from New Zealand, who look lost. What a team they've been for 2 World Cups, but they have been resoundingly beaten here. Sonny Bill is smashed. Joe Marler's in there, as is Cole. New Zealand are back on their own 22, Paul Grayson and Ardy Surveyor.
And going backwards, they want the sweet release of a knock-on the final whistle.
It's knocked on, and it goes back to the captain Farrell, who tried to kick it off, and Sonny Bill Williams has taken it, but Nigel Owens had the knock-on for New Zealand. He's called the knock-on, and he's called the full-time whistle. And England, men and women, all around the Yokohama International Stadium, rise to celebrate one of the most authoritative, dominant and famous victories in English rugby history. They have crushed New Zealand and they are marching inexorably towards another Rugby World Cup final. Does it get much better than this? Maybe next weekend for England. They have thumped the All Blacks for the first time in the Rugby World Cup. Final score, England 19, New Zealand 7, Matt Dawson.
England fans, get on the internet, book your flights, get your hotel rooms and get yourself to Tokyo, because England have got the most incredible opportunity of getting hold of this trophy. Yes, they haven't got it. They've got one hand on it. And either South Africa or Wales will be challenging, but can we honestly see anyone taking these boys on next week?
England have reached a level there today that we could only dream of. When you go through England's team, we asked them to have 10 out of 10 performances each, and that would be enough to get past the New Zealand team. They've exposed the All Blacks. They've found the weaknesses, ruthlessly kept the ball away from them in the opening 20, tore through them this way and that. And then the second half, their kicking game and their strategic play, led by George Ford, strangled the life out of a witless All Black team who've been put to the sword by England.
Not huge celebrations from England as Wonderwall plays around Yokohama. The celebrations aren't of world champions because they know they've got 80 minutes and an imposing opposition in South Africa or Wales in the way. But before we hand back to Sonia McLaughlin, Andrew Mertens, when Matt Dawson said England are looking like world champions, you nodded your head.
I just thought they were absolutely outstanding from 1 to 23 today. Absolutely sensational. Yes, they made the odd mistake, but they were just huge. Itoje, amazing. The front row was awesome. Curry and Underhill were absolutely everywhere. And just to see All Blacks with that much vaunted attack, just going backwards in those tackles, was incredibly impressive.
Their reign is over. New Zealand have been beaten by a simply stunning England performance. England troop off, handshakes all round. The game played in outstanding spirit, but absolutely no doubt the better team and the deserving winners, Sonia McLaughlin. It's England who are in the World Cup final. They've beaten the All Blacks 19 points to 7.
And yes, it's true, they absolutely are. History made by Eddie's England into a final for the first time since 2007, and a first ever win over the All Blacks at a World Cup to boot. And I've now got visions of England fans dancing around their living rooms, around their kitchens, singing in the car. Wow. Matt Dawson, you were optimistic before this match about what England could achieve. Have they surpassed your expectations with that performance?
I think that's what we expected from this team if they were going to play 100%. We know that they can defend like their lives depend on it, like Tasmanian Devils. Even to the last second, they weren't happy with New Zealand scoring a consolation try. They wanted to shut them out. They'll probably be devastated that New Zealand scored a try with an overthrow. Their organisation, their tactics were just totally, they were the first class. Yes, there was the odd, of course, every game, no game is perfect, every game there's a mistake, but their overall tactics, their selection, Eddie Jones, coaching staff, John Mitchell, all the rest of them, the players, the subs, the non-playing players as well, everyone has nailed this today, utterly nailed it.
You've been saying this wasn't just a win, this was a complete dismantling of the best team in world sport. That's Jamie Paul, an exquisite 80 minutes of rugby from England against the world's best. Or are we the world's best? Question mark. Never looking like losing that lead. William, one of the great performances, one of the great days. Lots of greats there from William, but he's right, isn't he, Paul? How great was that from England? Paul Grayson.
There are pockets in that game where it's just about as good as it gets. Think about England's opening play where they knocked the ball up the middle and they'd clearly done their homework. They managed to get Elliot Daly on the outside of Richie Mo'unga, second last defender. Clean line break with your first attack. They then went the width of the field with two massive passes from Ford and Farrell. They've got Jamie George running the outside channel. They recycle the ball. Courtney Lawes pops to Sinclair. Sinclair hits and pivots and offloads to George. Gives it to Mako Vunipola. Courtney Lawes knocks it up one more time and Manu dives over. Impossible to defend when you're using those resources that well.
That roar as England go into a huddle just below us on the touchline here was because Owen Farrell stepped forward to do his flash interview on the side of the pitch. Oh, goodness me, that was just breathtaking. Have we ever seen, do you think, the All Blacks dominated in such a fashion before? From start to finish?
I mean, it was comprehensive. It really was. And, we're going to sound like a couple of arrogant pommies here. I know we are, but it was comprehensive from minute one, from the moment they did that little switch pass kickoff, or maybe even further, maybe the haka, where it was they were mentally in the right spot to throw something at the All Blacks. But whatever they threw at them, whether it worked or they didn't, they just went on to the next job. But the pressure that England built onto New Zealand, you started to see New Zealand crack. Where was Beauden Barrett? Where was Kieran Reid? Where was Retallick? And that's not a reflection on them as a player. It's a reflection on how good England were on how they marked those players and put them out of the game.
Andrew Mertens, former All Blacks fly half. Steve Hanson's just doing his interview now that goes out across the public address system here, so you can probably hear it in the background a little bit. The emotions must be going through him right now?
Yeah, well, there's disappointment, of course, and there's just, I guess, dejection, desolation. A lot of DEs, aren't there? I probably shouldn't even be talking because it's England's day, and I'm amongst, 4 English people. This is your day. This is where you should be celebrating. But, as a New Zealander, take your hat off to the English team today. They were absolutely outstanding. They deserve probably more tries than they got. Their attack was good. Their defence was good. Little things like Anthony Watson on the wing, fantastic on defence. Herding that ball out to the outside, made at least one tackle, maybe two, that took the ball across the touchline for an English throw-in. Almost on another couple of occasions, he was just fantastic. But right throughout, you couldn't pick an English guy who didn't stand up today and perform.
Yeah. The kamikaze kids is what we like to call them, Curry and Underhill. There was one tackle that Sam Underhill made on Beauden Barrett. He stuck Beauden Barrett into a week next Wednesday. Just 16 turnovers. Was that the key to this game in many ways? The breakdown. England just got it right in that area.
Of the two teams today, England and the tactical plays that they made, England got it absolutely right. And they managed to expose New Zealand at the breakdown. The quality of some of the tackling, you were never 2 passes away from a dominant hit by an England player, and they picked when to go in and compete almost perfectly. And the other part of it, Sonia, is that it was the 65th minute before Beauden Barrett or a New Zealand fly half kicked the ball in behind England from the middle third of the field. They played a load of rugby around the halfway line. and got absolutely nowhere, whereas England spent the whole of the second half pushing New Zealand back, forcing them to play out of their own third, and they mentally and physically dominated today.
England lining up over on the far side behind the posts here and just applauding the significant numbers of England fans who are still here in their white shirts and their English flags. Matt Dawson, what must it be like to be an England player right now, in that moment?
Well, I'll guarantee they're not as excited as us. And you can tell that they're very calm. I think part of the process that the management and the players have learned over the years is it's all well and good. This is great, isn't it? Fabulous. But this is, you're never going to be remembered. Never going to be remembered for winning a semi-final and losing in the final. It means nothing to these boys unless they win next week. This is what the pain and the anguish of hours and hours at the gym, the sacrifice you give to your family, your friends, people around you. I mean, it's a huge sacrifice to be in this team. The fitness and all the column inches that have been written about how tough Eddie Jones has worked this team. This is why we can't doubt him, because come 20 minutes to go, there's only one team in the game in the World Cup against double world champions, and that's England over New Zealand. They have got this spot on right. It now just completely comes down to a one-on-one match against a side who somehow have got a match. I honestly don't see how they're going to match England, but it's a final, so anything can happen.
And also, as you have a look around, you move on to the next thing, which is next week. I'm looking across the England players who are now on the far side of the field going to say hello to their friends and family. You want to see whether England have got any walking wounded. I want to know whether Johnny May, because he hobbled off, how bad that is, whether it's precautionary. Because if England can take the same 23 into battle next week, they are a formidable proposition.
The All Blacks just below us here, to a man lined up and just bowed to their fans. What do we say about the All Blacks? That's their first World Cup defeat since 2007. Matt Dawson, but it took some performance, did it, to kind of dethrone them?
Yeah, listen, it's a huge moment for English rugby. I think it's a huge moment for the world of rugby, and that just pays homage to New Zealand rugby as a whole, not just this team, the team that have been going for, 10, 12, 14 years, whatever it is. They are an incredible bunch of individuals. Now there are amazing men who have worn that shirt for many, many years and created the legacy that they have. It was always going to end at some stage, of course it was, but we should never ever forget what these guys have done for the international game. I mean, look how good England have to be to beat them in a semi-final. They haven't won in so many games in 3 tournaments. I don't think that will ever be done again. I'm sure it will be never done again. Never be done again. So it's an incredible. They deserve all the applause, and to take a bow, and the respect that they give everybody is mirrored for the respect that we should give them.
Yeah, there was concerns about Owen Farrell, wasn't there, at half-time? He went down in a big heap, but he was almost looking like he was on one leg at one point. But Owen Farrell's not going to come off in a World Cup semi-final, is he? No, he saw it through to the end, and we can hear from the England captain now.
Victorious England captain Owen Farrell. Now just tell me, Cap, right from the get-go in the haka, the boys up for it, weren't they?
Yeah, look, it's a big game. It's a World Cup semi-final against the All Blacks. It's as big a game as you can get in this stage, and we felt like we prepared well, and we started the game well.
Talk about starting the game to score within 2 minutes must give you huge confidence.
Yeah, look, all these big games, teams get physical, they go at each other from the off, and we knew that was going to come our way, and we wanted to make sure that we were playing that game too.
One thing we saw tonight that was evident, your front rowers in particular, taking the ball to the line and giving those late balls, showing a bit of skill tonight.
Yeah, look, we've got a number of ways of playing. We've got a big, powerful pack, but as you said, they can use the ball as well. We want to play to space, and tonight we did that well.
Rugby World Cup final, Japan 2019, how's that sound?
Yeah, no, it's brilliant. It's brilliant to get there. it's brilliant to be a part of, obviously, and we'll enjoy this win first. But we'll make sure we prepare well now.
Good luck next week, eh?
Thank you very much.
Crowd here enjoying a chorus of Hey Jude. You get the feeling that the party is only just starting here in Tokyo this Saturday night. Andrew Mertens is here, former All Black fly half. George Ford was outstanding today for England in your old jersey, the number 10 shirt. How impressed were you by him?
Oh, very, like all of the English players, you know, and it was a different sort of game that England needed to play from last week. Last week was about bludgeoning Australia. This week they needed to be a bit more subtle, a bit more, I guess, creative, have a little bit more guile about the attack, and he got given a great platform. Those
Andrew,
guys going forward.
I hate to interrupt you, but it's for a very good reason, because we're going to hear from the coach of the moment, Eddie Jones.
Eddie Jones, congratulations, you're live on 5 Live Sport. Where was the decisive area for you in that game?
Well, what we've done is earn another week in the comp, which is great. We're excited about that. I thought our tactical discipline was good today. Our defence work rate was good most of the time. A couple of times we knocked off, but good most of the time. I thought when we had opportunities to attack, we attacked well, but we missed a couple of opportunities that we were disappointed with.
How did it feel to have won? The crowd loved it, the players looked pretty happy as well. How's the coach?
It was just another week in the comp, mate. You know, that's all we got. You come here 8 weeks ago and you want to go right to the death, and we're in the death now. And so we've got another week to enjoy ourselves, work as a team, have a great experience. Because at the end of the day, you know, our players made a commitment to each other that they'd enjoy the World Cup, and I think we're seeing that.
I think you secretly enjoyed it. There's a massive smile on your face. Did you get worried at any point in that game, or did you feel that you had them from the haka? I mean, that was pretty impressive to start off with.
I think whenever you play against New Zealand, you never have them. You know, they're a side that you might beat on the score, but you never beat them. And, you know, if any team that's got 89% winning record in Test rugby has got to be absolutely difficult to beat. And they were, you know, even at the end of the game, they kept coming. They had a number of injuries, but they kept coming at us, and we had to dig deep and find something a little bit extra.
Will you need to keep feet on the floor now this week or not?
Well, I think that'll be not relatively easy, but we've come here to be the world's best, and we haven't done that yet. So that's where we want to go.
Congratulations, Eddie. Thank you very much indeed. That's Eddie Jones, England head coach.
Thank you very much. That's our reporter Gareth Lewis. Some interesting things he said there, that they've made a commitment to each other, Matt Dawson, to enjoy the World Cup. Is that important to do that as you go through the tournament? Does it reflect in performance?
Yeah, and they have. If you've seen on social media, there've been plenty of visits to schools and clubs and cultural destinations. Of course, there is an element of enjoyment around that. The enjoyment is the memory you have of winning. All right, let's not beat around the bush here. If England are not successful, the enjoyment factor comes down significantly. The fact that they are now in that final makes next week so much easier, so much more relaxed. You don't need to do a huge amount of work. They'll do a few looseners. They can rest up. You know, they can focus on the opposition. They're going to find out tomorrow, South Africa or Wales. Loads of video analysis listen, if they do the detail on their opposition next week as well as they did against New Zealand today, they're close to invincible. Honestly, that was such an all-round performance of the mind and the body for me, that next week there will be, I'm not going to say fear, but a slight worry in whoever is going to be facing them.
That's a tough watch for the other two semi-finalists today, because that was a command performance by England. But it's not just built on the training field, Sonia. We've had glimpses into what England have been doing behind the scenes in terms of their embracing the Japanese language and making sure that the boys understand the dynamics of the society and the country that they're coming to. That's all part of it. But in those meetings where you do set your goals, you do make commitments, you set your teamship rules, as we called them. If you get that right, and you've got the culture in your squad, and you've got an honesty within your group, the enjoyment cycle just builds, and the cherry on top is an outstanding performance from the team today.
Well, we just heard from Eddie Jones. Let's hear from his undoubtedly disappointed opposite number, your Black coach, Steve Hansen.
Well, coach, a very tough time, obviously. Steve Hansen, do you think that the first half is just on the back foot from the get-go?
Oh, look, firstly, I'd just like to congratulate England. I think they played a tremendous game of footy and on the day deserved to win the game. And you can't give them half a step because they'll take it. So, end of the day, that's what rugby's about, and well done to them.
Coach, I know you've still got another game next week. You've been involved with this team for 15 years, won 2 World Cups. I'll give you the platform to just say what you'd like to say for the people back home.
Yeah, look, I'm really proud of our team. They've done a tremendous job for their country, and just on tonight we just weren't good enough. So we have to take that on the chin, and so does everybody back home and our fans. And all credit to England. But you saw the boys at the end; they're still trying their guts out, and that's all you can ask. So really proud of them.